Good morning, welcome everyone. It is so good to see you this morning, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. If you missed last night, oh sorry, should I do that again? We're just saying welcome this morning, guys. If you missed last night, I feel like I keep going on and off. There we go. Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? Yeah. I realised last night that I didn't actually introduce myself. So for those who don't know me and for those who are on live stream, my name is Jess.
I'm Raquel.
This is Raquel, and we want to just welcome you here this morning. If you did miss last night, don't worry, because today we have an awesome program for you guys. And also, if you do want to watch it, it is recorded on our South Queensland Adventist page on Facebook as well. So you can go over there and watch everyone from last night. It was an incredible, incredible night.
Yes, and we want to welcome everyone on live stream right now. You belong in this space just as much as everyone sitting at the tables.
Absolutely.
So enjoy from the comfort of your home.
Totally. And Raquel, who was your, I guess everyone was incredible last night, but if you were to say one highlight for you out of all of the great speakers, who would you say was your favourite from last night? A must watch.
Okay, there were an abundance of people last night. The one I felt like I connected with most was Rochelle Melville. She was a super quirky, artistic lady.
And you're super quirky and artsy yourself as well.
So everything she was saying, I'm like, yes, look at her. She's glowing with creativity. So I was her fangirl from the crowd last night.
So good.
And she's doing a workshop today at 2 p.m. so we can learn her creative skills and become all a little bit like Rochelle.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was to pick one, all of them were incredible, like I said, but I think because I studied fashion design and I'm a bit more inclined towards that way, Christina was probably one of my favourites. And yeah, there's so many, like we said, there's so many different artists. There is someone here for all of you guys, whether it's art or fashion design or dance or singing or any of that stuff, we can guarantee someone up here on stage is here for you as well. So we want to quickly, just some housekeeping tips. If you guys need to go to the bathroom, it's just around the corner if you turn right and right and right. And also, we hope you all signed in with the QR code on the way in here. If you didn't on the way in, we really encourage you to do it on the way out so we don't get in trouble. Easy. And we should pray.
I'll pray.
Yeah, let's pray.
Okay. All bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we welcome you here today in our new creative space that we're bringing into our church, and just bless everyone's minds and words and conversations, and may we exude your love and joy and your creative flavour in our lives. And we pray all these things in your name, Lord. Amen.
So we would like to invite our first act up onto the stage, Sandra. And if you just want to look to the screens while a video plays while they come up. Thank you.
Okay, so for the Sabbath sing-along that we do every Friday night, it's a really simple setup. I have a bag of tricks, trusty laptop for lyrics because people choose songs and I don't always know the lyrics. The old brain doesn't work all the time, so you just Google all the lyrics. And this, is this a selfie ring light or something? So this just holds the phone, so we record onto the phone. It just clips onto the table. Put the phone in here and this light just lights up because I'm in a different home every Friday night and you don't know whether the lighting's going to be good or not. So I just have this, plug it into the laptop and record straight onto the phone. And so then we just crowd our chairs around here, crowd in, set it to Facebook Live, and the microphone on your phone is just ideal. Picks up everything. So when people are requesting different songs, chances are I probably have a PowerPoint that I can just go ahead and click on and open up lyrics for. So that way, and I'll have little hints to repeat a chorus so that you can see, you know, do another chorus, do this, do that. So that way the singers can be on the same page. Who would have ever thought, you know, that something like this would have gone global? I was just doing it because I knew I wouldn't last COVID without fellowship and without music. But to think that people around the world were isolated and lonely and missing community singing, And just to think that today, we generally go to church and a praise and worship band are leading the music and they've decided what we're going to sing. Whereas this, the people get to choose their favourites. They'll be like, we want this song, we want that song. So we're trying to keep our eye on there to look for what song requests that they are coming up with and then just singing our hearts out and making mistakes along the way.
We share as we tarry there. None other has ever known. Lay all my burdens down at your feet, and anytime happiness is to be forgiven, living a life that's worth the living, taking a trip, and I shall not be moved, I shall not be. Lay my life before you.
We just kick straight in whether there's 0 viewers or not. But within a few moments, there's like 200 viewers present. They're getting used to our start time. On average, it's around about the 600 mark, sometimes 800 watching at any one time. And by the time the live is finished and you see the views, it's like immediately 7,000 views. So as the weekend carries on and the Sabbath opens around the world, then people start waking up and they start watching it. And then the views go up again. Generally the views are around the 30,000 mark. The people are typing in where they're watching from, and it's just been amazing. In the early days, I took the time to just, have a look at where all those countries were. And every time I saw a new country that I hadn't seen, I would just type that into my phone. And look, it's like 140 plus countries now where people are tuning in. And they're regulars now. I'm starting to recognise their names and their little pictures, and people are just pining for fellowship right now. Just whatever your creative skills are, really work on those. Do whatever you do for Jesus, do it well, and then when doors open, God will entrust you with bigger doors.
Doesn't Charmaine do just a great job of her work? She showed up at that sing-along and got busy and came up with a little video. But then Dana broke Facebook, so they don't show those kind of views anymore. We have this morning with us a little selection of singers from different groups that feature on the sing-along. So we've got Osborne Mene here on the left, my brother Gary on the, well, that's the right for you, my brother Gary on your left, and Dana Petrie is no stranger to you folk here, is she? So we're going to do a mix of songs, some old school, some new. We're going to do 2 songs in this segment and another 2 songs in the next. And people have generally loved when Osborne sings rather than just plays. So the first song we're going to make him sing, and that's the song Sweet Jesus. Do you know this song, Sweet Jesus? Okay, well, we'll sing and you catch on and sing as soon as you recognise it or can pick it up, yeah? We'll have some lyrics on the screen for them in case they want to sing right from the start. Lovely. 1, 2.
Sweet Jesus, what a wonder you are. You are brighter than the morning star. You are fairer, much fairer than the lily that grows by the wayside. Precious, more precious than gold. I live for Jesus day after day. I live for Jesus. Then come what may, the Holy Spirit I will obey. I live for Jesus day after day. Sweet Jesus, what a wonder you are. You are brighter than the morning star. You are fairer, much fairer than the lily that grows by the wayside. Precious, more precious than gold.
Amen, amen. You know what, something that I don't know that we touched on in that video that I'm just loving about doing the sing-along online ministry is the capacity to reach people who are not of our faith, people who are not Christians at all. I have so many friends on Facebook that are not believers, have very different worldviews, and yet they tune in on Friday night just to be able to exhale, sit and listen to some harmony and some banter, as you know, some of them tell me. But really, how beautiful is that? That it's just a non-threatening way to be able to present Jesus to people who otherwise may not listen. We're going to sing with you or for you this beautiful song, One Day, that's coupled with the hymn, When We All Get to Heaven. Join us if you know it, and if you don't, you should know the chorus.
One day you'll make everything new, Jesus. One day you will bind every wound. The former things shall all pass away. No more tears. One day you'll make sense of it all, Jesus. One day every question resolved, every anxious thought left behind. No more fear. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. One day we will see face to face Jesus. Is there a greater vision of grace? And in a moment we shall be changed on that day. And one day we'll be free, free indeed. Jesus, one day all the struggle will cease, and we will see your glory revealed.
Let's give them a round of applause, guys. That was incredible. I just want to honour you guys, Sandra and your team and all the musicians that have ever played with you. You guys are incredible and you are doing so much for our community. And I know I didn't grow up as an SDA, so I missed out on quite a lot of hymns and learning hymns as a kid, and I feel like I've learnt so many from watching. I've watched quite a few of your sing-alongs, and I feel like I've learnt so many, and I just have such an appreciation for them, and yeah, you guys sound beautiful. It's like our own little SDA pentatonics. It's so cute. So something I forgot to say before, I did have this in my hand and completely forgot. But you guys might notice on your tables, there are little colouring in pages and pencils, and we're actually doing a fun little colouring in competition today while you guys are here. So get creative, be as creative as you want, colour in or outside of the lines. And there should be some pencils and crayons on your desk as well, and after it's done, just put your name on it or sign it as Artist Sue and come give it to myself or Raquel or Charmaine, and we'll pick who's the winner, I guess. Awesome. So the next person I'd like to invite up is Bryce Depler. He is our own sound and media guy, which he's doing at the moment. But he's going to take a break from that and come up on stage to talk to you. So Bryce, if you want to make your way up to stage. Bryce started in technical ministry at an early age when he was touring with his parents, who were a part of a vocal group in Victoria, and was thrust onto the mixer one service when their sound guy didn't turn up. Having taken up the family business in technical ministry, he has spent over 3 decades as part of vocal groups, bands and choirs, and spent those years travelling around Australia, running sound and lighting for various vocal groups, church conferences and community programs. Bryce started running video ministry at Springwood, this church, in 2012 out of a need to reach people in their congregation who weren't able to attend or people who wanted to share the sermons with others. Springwood started live streaming the LDC service in 2016 and has grown the channel to be praised by people like Wayne Boham. Head of Hope Channel is one of the leading in live streaming church services in our union. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jess. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm always here, so it's always good to be here. Thanks to everyone who's here. Welcome to all those people online as well, and welcome to those people who are watching after. I hope you really get something out of this. 20 months ago, I received a phone call from Kendall, our lead pastor. This new virus called COVID-19 had reached our shores and was starting to be a significant concern with churches throughout. So a discussion was had and our leaders made the difficult decision to close the church. Little did we know that days after we did that Australia would effectively go into lockdown and every church would all of a sudden have nothing to do. At that time, it was my time to shine. At Springwood, I started our video ministry, as Jess said, in 2012 with a single camera, recording all the sermons, taking those recordings, editing them, fixing the audio, and uploading them to YouTube. In 2016, we started live streaming our full programs. So when 2020 hit and we were forced to shut down, nothing really changed for us. It was business as usual, and we were in a really good position. I mean, there were some tweaks. There was no live congregation. There were some really awkward pauses because people had no idea when the camera was on. And we had to tell pastors to look down the lens and not around an empty room. So literally overnight, live streaming became the main way to attend church. Here we go. More people watched church services online in the past year than any other year in human history. Show of hands, who here hears church live streams in YouTube, Facebook, Zoom? Who still watches their live stream regularly? Thank you, Raz. So who watches the live streams after the fact and shares them? Anyone? A couple people? Who here, does anyone here live stream personally, like gaming, personal blogs, morning devotions for those corporate stuff? Steve? Supplementary question, who here actually likes their church's live stream? I'm looking at Chewy, what are you doing? Tip your hand up, Chewy. Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all the Springwood people who put their hands up. So when we set up our ministry, it was set up for one goal, to reach our core congregation. That was its first and primary goal, just to reach our congregation. It wasn't to reach the lost. It wasn't to be a TV station. It wasn't to glorify our pastors and show how good they spoke. Brad, you'd be one of those too. And you spoke very well. But that was not our goal. Our goal, and the core of our live stream to this day, is to reach our own congregation. Our church service is the biggest thing we do as a church. We spend 167 hours a week planning for a 1-hour service as a congregation. This hour is where we put a bulk of our resources as a church. So it's a fairly important part of our church life and our church community. And when people miss that hour, or can't be there for whatever reason, sick, out of town, this hour of power available to those people who want to view it and make someone who thinks that they're going to miss out actually feel included. We still have old members and a few normal members who, when they watch our live stream, they actually watch right to the end when we do a big wide shot so that they can see who's actually attended that week, so that they can feel included. Say, oh, I can see Alan and Nadie. Oh, that's right, I need to talk to them this week. Oh, it's good to see them, even though I'm only seeing them online. But beware of a few things. Firstly, live streams are not about numbers. Numbers are great, and it's great to see that your live stream is growing, but it's not all about numbers. It's about the people behind the screen. It's also not about fancy equipment, and fantastic to see Sandra's thing, because I've actually talked about you anyway, so your video has gone through that. I mean, Sandra is a prime example of not using fancy equipment. I don't know if you could watch a Sabbath sing-along in a really good production value. I don't think it'd have the same feel as it would. Would you agree, Sandra? I mean, it just wouldn't be as authentic if you had a 3 or 4 camera setup, proper mics, in a studio, zooming, panning, shots. The single shot, singing down the lens, talking to people personally, gives a real authentic feel. I know a lot of churches who have spent thousands of dollars on equipment. They lock it off at a wide shot, hit go, and that's it. So it's not about equipment, it's about people who are driving it. And don't limit your audience. Zoom's great, and it's really personal. And Facebook is fantastic, but why would you tunnel people into only one place when you can stream to people where they need? I was working with the church who only streamed to live stream because that's what they'd always done. And they'd been requested by a number of people to go onto YouTube because, of course, my elderly mother knows how to go to YouTube, but doesn't exactly know how to get onto a Zoom call all the time. So don't limit your audience. Or if you are using Zoom, make it available to everyone. Zoom's great for other things though, for engaging your audience after the fact or pre-service, or for small groups, prayer meetings. So engage your audience. You're really talking with a live stream, you're talking to 3 groups of people. Especially now, again, that we're back in-house. Firstly, you're speaking to your congregation. You're also speaking to the people who are watching online right now. And then you're also talking to the people who are watching after. So engage your audience. Appeal to not only people that are there, but the people who are down the lens. And we really had a good look at that when COVID hit and we were in lockdown. When we try and do live streaming, what we try and do is we try and capture the experience in the room and rebroadcast that so it feels much the same. But when COVID hit, all of a sudden we basically became morning shows. We sat in chairs, we talked to a screen and engaged our audience who was sitting on their couches or in their beds in their pajamas drinking their coffee. Now that things have got back to normal, this is the sort of the new normal. So we are live streaming again to people in the house and on the internet. Our audience is more savvy. They know how to watch and they know how to watch online, and they want to be engaged like they did when we were in lockdown. So here's a couple of examples of things, if you're involved in live streaming, even if you're not involved in live streaming, that you can help with. Pre-show, where you talk to the online audience specifically. Do a 2-minute countdown, but do it only online. Live stream only graphics. Have a congregational online reading that they can do at home with each self. Asking for prayer requests is a really good one for people online. There are a lot of people who can't make it, who are in dire need of prayer, and they're the ones who will often more than happy to comment and ask for prayer, and getting that to the pastor up the front so you can pray for them. Directing people to websites so that you can say, if your kids aren't here, go to our website, print out the colouring page for our series on Nehemiah, or here's some pastoral notes, or why don't you watch last week's service, and post-service call-outs. This is something that we're working at Springwood on at the moment, where after the service, for those people who are online, we want to tailor a message specifically for them to say, hi, thanks for watching our service. We know that you can't be here for whatever reason, but please, if you've got any problems, contact us at this link. And we're talking directly to those people online and not to the people in the congregation. So I hear you say, I'm not part of the tech team. I don't do any live streaming. Why are you talking to me? So here's 3 things you can do as non-live streamers. Be an online host. Jump onto your church's live stream and sit there with your phone open in the chat. Sit there commenting on the Bible verse that the pastor has just said. Sit there and welcome people. Hi Steve, it's great to see you today. I'll talk to you this week. Hi Elaine, that's great. It's great to see you. I wish we could see you in person. Personal things like this that everyone can do. Create graphics. If you're any good at graphics, we as live streamers love you. Doing stuff with pre-roll graphics, countdowns, lower thirds graphics. We often don't have the time or the expertise, but as creatives, it's often a really great way that you can help out the live stream ministry, or even just the slides and graphics ministry in general. You know, a slide at the end of the sermon that says, thanks for joining us, we'll see you next week. Or best yet, become part of the tech team. Run a camera. It's not as hard as you think it is. It's a matter of pointing a camera down, and a lot of the time, I don't know about yours, tech teams specifically, but most tech teams in this conference that I know of are really small. There are only 2-3 people in a booth. And if you're doing sound and trying to run a camera at the same time, it often doesn't convey what the service looks like too well. People are hungry for content now more than ever. So stream more. Stream not only your church services, stream your prayer meetings. We have a prayer meeting once the first weekend of every month. And that's been incredibly popular with people. I know Ipswich does it as well. Having that ability as a specific prayer ministry to reach people and have people from all around the world view on a Friday night, which is what time is it? US, it's 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Yeah, I think Brazil is quite nice for them as well. Online sing-alongs like Sandra's doing. It's great. Youth gatherings. We've live streamed a couple of youth gatherings and parents love them because they can sit down with their kids later on and go over and see what they're doing and talk about the speaker and talk about what that speaker said. Daily devotionals. I wish more people would do daily or weekly devotionals because they are incredibly powerful. To get up in the morning, spend your time with God, and then have somebody else spend their time with you talking about maybe the series that you're going through at church or just what's happening in their day and what they're going through. Maybe a Bible talk show or even just live stream a creative conference. I mean, that's a great idea. So we all started live streaming during the pandemic. So it's a matter now of keeping the momentum going. We've given our congregants the option, sick, take a week off, but you can now watch online. I'm sure you've picked up a few online followers as well who aren't as part of your congregation. Hello, Mary Lou. Thanks for joining us. So that's live streaming in a nutshell. If you've got any questions, of course, I'll be up the back live streaming. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Bryce. You have an amazing skill set that I'm sure majority of us cannot achieve with all your skills of sound and media and this online presence that is so important right now. But yes, we'd like to just introduce Craig Shipton, the multifaceted, talented man that we'll now get to know. Craig currently manages several small businesses that he owns in Brisbane. His background is in training was in banking, finance, law, and education. He's worked as a high school teacher in the Solomon Islands and London. He now has a love for travel, surfing, and a long-term goal of cycling around the world for a number of years that I'm sure many of you have been privileged to also experience. He loves taking risks and seeing others stretch beyond the current limitations. He believes risks must be taken because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. And lastly, a secret painter that you can experience out in the foyer. Abstract, colourful, and a love and a joy for him. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. I'm the founder of 25,000 Spins, and you're probably wondering, what is 25,000 Spins? Actually, we're going to show a short video, but anyway, we'll clip over that and we'll do it at the end. But 25,000 Spins is an organisation that runs charity cycling events. And charity cycling events are where you're going from one bucket list location to another bucket list location, whether it's on road bikes or mountain bikes or gravel bikes. And it was started in 2009, and since the beginning, it's raised, with match fundraising, over 7 million Australian dollars. And collectively as a group, 4 million kilometres cycled, which is about 100 times around the world. The events have been run in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, and in North America. Sorry, I'm not a fan of public speaking, as you can probably already guess. I work with charities like ADRA, Tear Fund, World Vision, World Bicycle Relief, and UNICEF, with an overall umbrella of helping people in poverty. So cyclists come from all walks of life. It's definitely not just about the Christian demographic or the Adventist demographic, although there's many Christians who come. There's non-Christians, which is fantastic, and who come back year after year. Many of the cyclists, there's been over 1,000 cyclists who've come, but many come back there's been some that have come as many as 18 times on different events. Ben, who's up the back, he's a regular participant and super helpful, and those that know Ben, he's an awesome guy, and others here that have come on trips before, which is awesome. I wanted to take just a quick step back, because I know I'm mostly in the audience and I enjoy that, but I wanted to encourage all of us to sort of, in a sense, aim small. I think we often think big and think grand, and I would encourage you to think small and to do that each day. And I wanted to take a step back to where I was in 2008, before the bicycle events began, and what was I thinking? And before I do that, I just wanted to share a verse from the Bible. In Isaiah 58, 10 to 11, it says, "Feed the hungry, help those in trouble, then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as noon. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you're dry and restoring your strength. You'll be like a well-watered garden, an ever-flowing spring." And I imagine all of us would want that. We want to be guided by God. We want to have energies. And can I just see by a raise of hands those that have thought, if only I knew what God would want me to do, I would do it. Probably many of you felt that. Maybe you're feeling that now. You're in the audience. Certainly I was thinking that in 2008. Love to do something, not really sure what that is. And I was doing the normal thing. I was going to work, coming home from work, living life as you do. But I definitely wanted to do something more, and it was winter time, and winter in Europe is not as pleasant as it is here in Australia. And I would watch in the evenings, on a Wednesday night, I was watching this television documentary called Long Way Down, Long Way Round. It's a two sort of part series on these guys on motorbikes, just having an amazing time. And I was thinking, oh wow, I really enjoy travel, enjoy adventure, but to be honest, my life was pretty normal. I just did what everyone else did, and that was go to work, which is a good thing, and meet up with friends on a weekend, and had trips to do, etc., as you do. But it got me thinking, and I got chatting to a friend at work, and we decided together to go. We were planning a trip by motorbike from London to Beijing in China. And as the planning went on for that, he decided to pull out, and I don't know anything much about motorbikes, and decided it wouldn't be a bad idea to be stuck in somewhere like Uzbekistan without a motorbike working and not knowing how to fix it. So I thought, that's not a good idea. I will ride a bicycle, and a more realistic target for me was to ride to Athens in Greece. So that's what I decided to do. And as the research went on, I realised that 25,000 children die from things money can solve. And I wanted to give back into that and to raise £25,000, which is about $50,000. And on the journey to Athens, it was approximately 25,000 leg spins per day. So I thought, well, I'll call it 25,000 spins, so hence the name. And I didn't know anything about this. Like, my knowledge was pretty close to zero. In fact, I was just a commuter, a cyclist, which is just literally ride to work, ride home. For those that know about cyclists, Lycra is a common thing in the cupboard. I didn't even own Lycra, and you'll see a photo later of me at the end, and I'm wearing stuff that you wouldn't wear in cycling. I would definitely not recommend it. And so, I began sort of chatting to friends, work colleagues, people that I met about this idea. Of course, most people are not thinking, hey, let's ride to Athens. It's a pretty crazy idea, and I thought it was pretty crazy as well. But I thought I could convince people to go to Paris. It's a wonderful city. It's end of the Tour de France. Who wouldn't want to go there? And that's what happened. So there was 18 of us, and we headed out on a morning from central London in Trafalgar Square off towards Paris, and 5 days later we arrived, cresting the hill, seeing the Eiffel Tower. It was amazing. If they only knew what was in my brain, I was thinking, wow, I'm amazed we're even here. This is unbelievable. And yeah, we had a fantastic time. I continued on with a friend of mine, Trent, and his wife, Naomi, who actually is speaking later today. And we travelled across France. We cycled through Switzerland. We arrived in northern Italy. This was essentially the route we took. So at northern Italy, they went on a more romantic adventure. I continued down the Croatian coast, ended up in a Croatian hospital, ended up in a Croatian kind of police cell. Separate story, but I wasn't doing anything illegal, don't worry. And then I continued further down Montenegro, Albania, bumped into some cyclists who happened to know someone who had a luxury yacht, spent a week on a luxury yacht, and then continued to Athens cycling. And look, it was amazing. Like, it really was. Look, you can see here, no Lycra. I wouldn't recommend that get up and go, to be honest. It's not a wise decision. Calluses were my friend. I guess I just wanted to come back to that statement earlier about in Isaiah 58, 10 to 11, help those in trouble. I mean, the help that those in trouble is different for what God has blessed me with. I actually had surprisingly little skills, to be honest. Like, this is really all I had. A willingness. I had time, which is a blessing. I was working, but I could quit my job like most people can. Yeah, look, it's liberating. Then I loved adventure, which I still do. But I'd got it to the grind of life, which is nothing wrong with that. That's part of life. It's not fun every day. And I had a bike. Sorry, I can't spell very well. I rode a bike. Yeah, not one of my giftings, spelling. What I didn't have was experience. I didn't have any experience about any of this. Physical fitness, I definitely didn't have physical fitness. I rode to work, but that was it. I wasn't ready for a 4,000 kilometre journey. And I didn't have any organisational skills per se. And the list goes on, the list was quite long. But I think we often get caught at that point, what we don't have. And I think, you see in the Bible a lot of times that God says, don't worry about tomorrow. What can you even do about tomorrow? You can't extend your years, there's so much you can't do. So don't focus on that. Focus on today, focus on what God has blessed you with, and do that. And I didn't anticipate, nor did I even have a goal of standing before you. In fact, Charmaine only told me a week and a half ago, so I definitely didn't have that as a goal. But I didn't have many things that have happened as a goal. And I think that's good, because if you just do the things you have before you today, and you do that well, and you keep doing that, then God determines if it's, in our eyes, big or small. And I only wanted to show you those kind of numbers and things at the beginning, not to say, yeah, hey, look at me, or anything, because it's all the people that have come and contributed and helped, and many of them speak at the front. I'm not particularly gifted at such a thing, but I want to encourage you that you have gifts and skills which even you're not aware of, but you have small ones, and just do the little baby step each day. The daily bit is important. And next, if any of you are interested, obviously these trips require people. We're hoping to do London to Paris again. It's a fantastic trip. It's been refined over the years, so you'll be sort of getting the best of. Cycling in Italy, which is great. Definitely recommend that. And then to be advised on Australia and New Zealand. That's the web address. Do you mind just playing that 50 or... where I had 44 seconds, I think it was, if that's okay. Lovely to meet you from the front. I hope to see you on a bicycle with Lycra.
Angles we get to see it on when it comes to the trails that we're on.
The scenery is spectacular. It's beautiful. So highlights would be scenery, just good times riding with my sisters. It's just all fun.
You can do it at your own pace. That's what I really like about it. You get stops along the way. You get a lot of encouragement from the people that you're riding with. So it's actually an experience, not just a ride.
And I thought, with an e-bike, I might be able to do it. Best decision ever. Fantastic ride, easy riding. The e-bike does most of the work for you. Not a problem whatsoever. Enjoying the scenery at the same time while you're riding an e-bike, talking to the people without getting huffed and puffed.
There's no aggro, no stress. Everybody seems to make it through in the end. Yeah, there's a couple of sore bums. Yes, there's a couple of sore legs. But it's really professionally done. As I say, the drivers for the vans, the way that if we have to, you can put your bike in the back, ride along for an hour if it's too much, and then hop out again and continue on.
There are just so many highlights. The lakes, the colours, the rides, the group, it's the support, I can't rave enough about it actually, I really can't. It's fantastic. And you can sign me up for more rides, that's for sure.
Thoroughly recommend it. I think anybody who just wants to have fun, wants to give back to others, and wants to experience something new, something they've never done before, I think you should totally do it. You don't have to be an amazing athlete to do it. A bit of consistency in training and you can make it.
So good. That was incredible. He seems like a man with lots of stories. I'm really interested about that jail cell one, actually. And also, he has some paintings. Man of many talents. He has some paintings out in the foyer, so make sure to check them out on your way out. And so our next person is already up on the stage. Thank you for being efficient. Is Jean-Pierre Martinez? Jean-Pierre Martinez, also known as JP. He serves as a school chaplain here in the South Queensland Conference. He enjoys the way that this role allows him to dig deep into his creativity as he connects and shares the gospel with young people of all ages from kindy to high school and beyond. Music, which he'll be sharing with us this morning, is one of his greatest passions. He has played with artists from all over the world and has the privilege of connecting with people over the power of music and loves how it conveys emotion and life-changing truth at a deep soul level. Welcome, JP. And Dana.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I was just saying to Steve this morning, these are my people. You are my people. This is so I'm just so excited to be here with a whole bunch of creatives and people who are colouring the world with what God has given you. Isn't it true that some of the best creativity comes out of pain? Put your hand up if you agree with that. Some of the best, this song that I wrote some time back came out of a conversation that I had with a good friend. Listening to her heart, listening to the trauma, listening to her story brought about all these emotions, and just sitting at home, just reflecting on that. Produced this song. And this song is called Love Was Standing There, because what it's about, it's really that moment of realization that through it all, through the pain and the hardships, love, God is love. God was faithfully standing there. And my prayer is that for you in your life, that be also your truth. That no matter what we go through, especially the dark times, that God, who is love, will be standing there. So I just want to share this little song with you this morning. Only love can heal. Only love can deal with the pain and darkness living in my soul. Only love can take a broken heart with all my mistakes, the pieces mended, and I'm made new. Piece by piece, mile by mile, tear by tear, you hold me. Song by song, smile by smile, word by word, you heal me. Love was standing there. Love was standing there. Like a spring that flows, quietly running, brings new life and flower to a desert plain. My salvation, my shelter, my sun and refuge through the heavy storms. So piece by piece, mile by mile, tear by tear, you hold me. Song by song, smile by smile, word by word, you heal me. Oh, love was standing there. Yes, love was standing there. Was standing there. Love was standing there. piece by piece, mile by mile, tear by tear, you hold me. Song by song, smile by smile, word by word, you heal me. Love was standing there. Love was standing there.
Hello. Thank you so much, Dana and Jean-Pierre. Yeah, I had goosebumps and I was like overwhelmed. That was beautiful. I love that. Yes, we can come together and share our personal stories, and especially through lyrics and music. I love it. Amazing. Now we'd like to welcome Lara Connolly, 19-year-old local from Brisbane, Ipswich area. She started her photography journey just over 5 years ago after purchasing her first digital camera, a Sony A6000 for those tech savvies. Since then, she's upgraded, and her old gear still holds a very sentimental place in her heart as a humble photographer from many years ago. A few years ago, she studied photography locally in Queensland, and now she's just started her own business, specialising in event, portraiture and lifestyle photography, whilst also completing commercial and personal projects. She's also extremely thankful to have the chance to work alongside Charmaine at the annual summer camps as a camp photographer, and Lara also is so excited to use her gifts for God and in the Adventist community, whilst capturing special and precious memories for young campers and their family. Thanks, Lara.
Well, good morning, everyone. So firstly, I just want to say a big thanks to Charmaine for having me here today to speak at such a wonderful initiative. I'm really proud of her. So just to start off, I thought I'd share a little bit about where my passion for photography came from. So when I was 14, my best friend had just bought her first camera, which was also a Sony A6000. And, we both had horses and lived on property, so it was quite often that we would go outside and take photos of each other, and I just remember being so amazed with what images this camera could produce. And it was those afternoons that really sparked my interest in photography. So fast forward probably 5 years, and my photography has definitely come a long way since then. It was in high school that a friend of mine, he had a photography business, and he asked me if I wanted to cover some events for him. At the time, I had very limited knowledge about what my camera could do, but I was overly confident in myself, so of course I agreed. And I remember rocking up to a 21st party and realising what I had got myself into. I knew barely anything, and I really, really hated it at first. I was like, this sucks. I never want to take photos of an event again. I felt really overwhelmed, and I felt like I just didn't know anything. But as time went by, those feelings of nervousness went away, and I forgot how scared I was, and I was asked to do another event, and of course, I agreed again. Anyways, many events passed, and I started really loving event photography and being able to connect with people and talk to them through my passion. So last year, I completed my Diploma of Photography and Photo Imaging at TAFE, and I was awarded a Silver Print Award for some of my photos, which was really special. And this year I started my photography business by Lara Speen Photography, which has been a really great success so far. And between working my receptionist job and studying law, I'm always out and about taking photos for weddings, 21sts, formals, basically anything you could think of, really. So being able to use my photography as a source of income has definitely been a massive blessing. But being able to use my talent to serve God has been such a wholesome and rewarding experience for me. Something that money will never be able to buy. So growing up in the Adventist community, I've attended summer camp since I was 10. I'm 19 now, so I've been 9 years strong, and it's always the highlight of my year. Of course, as a camper, I loved the camps, thought they were absolutely excellent, but nothing was more exciting to me than being able to sit down at the night program and watching the slideshow of all the photos from the day. I just thought it was so exciting to see photos of you pop up and your friends and see what everyone was getting up to that day. And as my passion for photography grew, so did my curiosity. And I knew that Charmaine was the camp photographer, and I really, really wanted to get involved. I felt driven to, approach her and, be able to use my talents for God. So we got to talking, and she asked me if I wanted to stay an extra week and be her assistant and help her out. And of course I agreed. I was so excited. And over the course of that camp, Charmaine taught me so much more about the art of photography, and she really took me under her wing and was such a wonderful mentor. And we shared many laughs as we drove around, snapping pictures and editing in the office, eating way too many chocolates. But I really want to thank her for trusting me that week, and the knowledge I gained was insane, honestly. And without her mentorship and guidance, I would not be half the photographer I am today. So some of my photos. So running a photography business, it's easy to find yourself getting lost about what it means to really be a photographer. In today's world, everything's centered around the concept of productivity and efficiency. It's really hard to fit such a creative art form like photography into such a commercial and mundane frame of mind. At times, it feels like I'm in a constant battle between, meeting editing deadlines and holding out till my next shoot. And I feel like having the opportunity to attend these summer camps really reminds me of why I have such a strong passion for photography and why I love it so much. Because the joy I get from hearing campers burst out in laughter when a photo of their friend being flung off a tube flicks across the screen is really like nothing else. The long nights of editing, sorting through photos, making slideshows and cutting and curating clips to match the music, it's honestly all worth it at the end of the day. To watch each joyful snapshot, I really, take a step back and think, I'm so grateful I'm so grateful for my gift and that I have the opportunity to capture such precious and happy moments of campers for them and their families for the rest of their life. So many people think that photography is all about pressing a button, but in reality, it's really not that easy. So before I leave you all today, if you ever wanted to try photography, I thought I'd give you a couple tips to help you out. So my first tip is preparation. I have gone to events with the wrong equipment because I just assumed I knew what it was going to be like. And you rock up and you realise what you've gotten yourself into, and you're like, too late to back out now, so you've got to make do with what you got. So being organised and making sure you have a variety of lenses and equipment will help avoid any unnecessary stress and avoid you being caught off guard. The second tip is that it's really all about getting back to the basics and understanding how to use your camera. Learning how to use manual settings will allow you to adapt to almost any environment you might be faced with. Low light, daytime, nighttime, the list goes on. Automatic settings will only get you so far, and it's best not to rely on them, as I learnt during the beginning of my journey. Thirdly, get creative. Don't be afraid to approach a subject with a more alternative approach. Try different angles, point of views, and compositions. Take time to apply fundamental rules such as leading lines and the rule of thirds, but don't let this hold you back from trying something a little different. Next, have you ever considered what comes after you take a photo? Sure, you could leave it as it is, but a few minor adjustments can really add to the overall look of an image. Familiarise yourself with a variety of editing software such as Lightroom and Photoshop. Play around with the settings and see what you like. Eventually, you'll just know what needs adjusting and it'll come as second nature. Finally, it really is true that practice makes perfect. I've come a long way since those automatic setting days, and each time I shoot, I'm constantly learning new things and improving. Collaborating with other creatives, watching how they do things, and sharing tips and advice will really help as well. Working with others works wonders. So, in closing, I would like to thank Charmaine again for having me, and yeah, that's my journey as a photographer.
Thanks so much, Lara. And we want to just thank Bryce and Craig and JP and his team and the band, and Lara again for everything that you set up here. Such incredible, all of you are great public speakers. So, you know, when all of you said, oh, I'm a bit nervous, or that you don't do lots of public speaking, it didn't look like it because you guys were incredible. So I hope you guys took just as much out of that as I did. I feel so blessed, and those who are online as well. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you felt so blessed. But don't go anywhere, because we're just going to go on a little bit of a break, but we will be back in here in about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely stick around, because we have many more creative expressions about to happen. We'll have another sing-along with Sandra and team. We'll have on demand a second at the Creative Conference. We have the GG podcast also presenting.
They're
and
great.
Many more. So it'll be really good.
Easy. So, yeah, feel free to use this time to go to the bathroom, go outside, get a drink, have a... Oh, and there's food outside. You! Awesome. So we'll see you back in here in about 15 minutes. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
children be using the area here or not?
Not for the kids. Not for the creative expression. But then, yeah, that's perfect. That'll work. So it's more about just learning what do we need to turn on real quick.
The reindeers don't have a on-off button on here. Oh, you went to chocolate.
Is this one working? Yeah, this one's working. Yeah. I will need, I think I'm playing with Dana first, so I will need this area again, but I'm not seeing, I'm just playing.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So you can just go up this end, can you? We turn on the top?
Maybe.
Or shall we move it?
Yeah, what we're doing is we're just getting the right location.
Yeah. I'll let you move it in case this was in the
Yeah, there we go.
This one. Can we daisy chain off it?
I've got another extension if you want.
Oh, what's this? Use that.
I've got another one.
Oh, you open the back there. So where the computer is, out here, it should have yours there. It should be in the couch already. Okay.
So we could actually take this one out.
That's right. That's what I was going to do.
And
So
then
put
that way I've got an on and off switch as well here.
It's a funny looking angled
I know.
Anyway.
Is it straight up?
Oh,
When's this?
It's like
Probably about after.
Oh,
third,
it's
fourth,
yeah,
About
okay.
the middle for the
Is
program.
it on?
1, 2, 3, 4, 3rd, 4th.
All right, you're all working.
You want to leave it on?
No, because we still.
No, you've got lots of stuff that's going to have to happen.
We're just trialing it, so we
Yeah,
can leave
right.
it.
So just move.
If we could leave
Just put
this
it over back
here,
here.
yeah, because this might be used over here.
Just over here.
Oh, who's over here? You're over here? That's yours. You got it together. No, you're at the end, so you're going to still. Some kind of unholy mess here.
So this track starts soft and then it gets loud. And it's quite long, so we have to start the music and
Even before there was a drop in the ocean, even before there was a star in the sky, even before the world was put in motion, you were on your throne, you were on your throne, you reign, glory in the highest, you reign, let creation testify by your name.
Hello, everyone. Can we start heading back indoors? I hope everyone feels refreshed after that melon and cherry platter. Very vibed for the next session. I would just like to introduce Pastor Joe up on stage. He was meant to be here last night, but 12 hours later, still just important. Thanks, Joe.
No worries, no worries. Just want to welcome everyone. Thanks so much for coming. We're praying that this will be a great blessing to you all today. We've got two announcements just to share. First announcement is just reminding people of the gala that's going to be happening on December 11th. If you are interested in coming, please let us know. There should be sign-ups in the breezeway afterwards. 50% of our tickets are already taken. So please keep us in mind if that is something that you would like to attend. This other announcement is an announcement that everyone I know has been waiting for, at least those of you who go to Springwood Church. The conference has appointed a new lead pastor. I thought that would get your attention. So in January, we'll be welcoming Pastor Paul Goltz and his wife Sonia, who will be our new lead pastor here at Springwood. Currently, Paul has been serving as the lead chaplain at Gilson College for the past 2 years. Before that, he was serving at Livingston Adventist Church in Perth. So something that we need to continue to pray for them as they make the transition, and please continue to pray for our leadership team and our church. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoy your day today.
All right, up now, first back in the session, we have Dana Petrie, a familiar face for many. She's often up on the stage collaborating with other musicians, and we also get the privilege to hear a little bit about her story today. She's a local teacher in the South Queensland Conference, and she loves arriving to the classroom with a big smile and energy that starts the day each morning with her children. Dana grew up in a musical home, which developed a passion for singing. And she enjoys teaming up with local musicians, as you've all seen today, and to participate in worships in different churches. She loves how music can be a bridge between people from all walks of life. Thanks, Dana.
Morning, everyone. Yes, I'll just share a little bit about where this song that I've written has come from and why I selected this particular one for today. So I wrote this song back when I was studying at Avondale College, now Avondale University, and it came... Hey, good. So it came about because I was driving down College Drive one morning to head to class, and as you turn the corner to kind of get into the gate, there's these trees that line either side of the road, and this particular spring morning, just out of nowhere, the trees had just broken out into these massive, vibrant white blossoms, and I thought, wow, this is so beautiful, and I think what had kind of struck me about it was that it literally came out of nowhere. They were there one day, and these blossoms, it's very disappointing, but like they're just gone within 2 days. Like, so it's like that bittersweet. You get to see this beauty for a short amount of time, and then it's just like, oh. So it's beautiful, but yet at the same time really frustrating. And I was kind of thinking about like what kind of frustration I would relate this to. And I would say the closest frustration I could say is the one regarding the window of time that an avocado stays ripe. And like just that, oh, it's so good, but so bad, you know, I missed it. And so it kind of just, as I was driving through and I was just looking at these trees that were so beautiful, I guess it just kind of reminded me of the seasonal nature, not of just flowering trees or flowering plants, but just the seasonal nature of the life that we live, and was reminded that nothing in nature blooms all year round, and honestly, neither should we. And that before really beautiful things come about, it often requires a dropping of a lot of things and a loss of a lot of things. Like the trees have to lose all of their leaves before they can actually break out into their beautiful flowers. And when selecting a song to share with you this morning. The reason I've selected this one again is specifically for the seasonal component of it, and just because I've just recently, in the last couple of months, entered into a bit of a new season personally, and it's a new season with my health. And I mean, everybody at some point will hit a health challenge, and you'll hit a new season, and your life is just different overnight. And I've been like, drat, my time has come. It's my time. All right, I'm here. And so that's been really different. And among all the things that kind of happened around kind of diagnosing what was going on there, one of the things I had to get done was a biopsy of a nodule in my neck. And that was a little scary for me. I thought, oh goodness, here we go. So I contacted my cousin who's up in North Brisbane, because my immediate family's all in New South Wales. It's been a lonely year, but I have extended family up in North Brisbane, so I contacted him, and I was like, all right, on this day, I get some biopsy results. I'm coming over. We're either gonna laugh or we're gonna cry. It's just, but we're gonna be together on that day. And so the day arrived. It took like a week to get results, man. It's painful. So I should just tell you. So I got my results, and God is so good. They said, benign tumor, we're good. So I was like, thank you, Jesus. So I drive celebrating all the way up to North Brisbane, get to my cousin's house. No sooner have we celebrated than I decided it's time for me to complain about the rest of my health issues now. So I'm sitting there complaining, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that. Like, my lifestyle's gonna have to completely change. I'm tired, I'm cold, I'm this and that. And he's graciously listening to me. And he's had his own health issues for years and years. And he's listening, and he's just like, Dana, you've got to let that go. Like, you've got to let it go. He's like, the harder you fight your season.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Collin.
Hi Karen. Oh, good. For sure, the harder we fight our seasons, the worse things get for us. And he was just sharing with me how he tried to fight his health season and how his health got worse. And he had to just really lean into it. And he's like, you just have to lean in, embrace your season, and you'll realize that everything is actually still okay. Everything is still okay. Like, the things that you think you're losing, you're really not. Like, everything's going to be okay. And he really talked me down, and I thought, there you go, if I was overreacting, I can definitely lean into this. And I'm a very stubborn person, so I'm still on the journey, but really grateful for just reminders and just community around me that can just remind me that seasons are okay, life is still seasonal, and that everything is okay in the end. And so this particular song that I wrote 6 or more years ago just has a new meaning for me today in terms of seasons, and it's written from the perspective of God, kind of singing a love song over somebody who is desperately clutching to a season they need to move out of, and that is like, no, I'm not dropping these leaves, I'm not doing it, I don't want to lose these things. And God's just saying, I just really want to see you flourish and bloom, and you can't do that until you move out of that season that you're in. And so in this song, God is just really singing that you're not worth any less for a new beginning, and that in fact you're worth immeasurably more than you'd ever tell yourself that you are. When I wrote this, I decided God was calling me darling. Sorry for the males in the audience that may not quite relate. Insert your own bro, my man, whatever you want in there. But God sings darling to me. So yeah, in this song, I just imagine God singing me into my new seasons. And so if you're someone who's moving through seasons as well, or who has moved through a season, I'd love for this to be a love song from God to you also. Darling, how I long for you to gently lean into the rhythms of spring. And darling, lay your branches bare and surround yourself with anthems of spring. told you you could be? Ever told you you could be? Darling, don't conceal the morning. The true light is already shining through. The timing is perfect in its waiting. There is only new life in you. I want to find you surrounded in full blooms, 'cause I see your heart and I'm seeing through your evergreen, and I want to see you, know you are worth much more than anything your evergreen heart ever told you you could be. Ever told you you could be. I want to find you surrounded in full blooms, 'cause I see your heart and I'm seeing through your evergreen, and I want to see you, know you are worth much more than anything your evergreen heart ever told you you could be. Yeah. Ever told you you could be.
Well, I'm here in real life. I'm not just on the screen, although I think there was going to be something on the screen as well, but that's okay. Isn't it awesome to be in a room full of creative people? As a little kid growing up in Launceston, Tasmania, any other Tasmanians in the house? Oh, maybe half of one, kind of. Anyway, I can't say that there was a whole lot of creativity that I saw growing up like I see today. And as a mum and as a teacher and a chaplain, I just love the fact that our kids are growing up in a place where their creativity and their God-given talents are really honoured. And so kids, I'm just so glad that you're here. It's so exciting for me to think about what God is doing in your life. So today, Charmaine invited me to talk about something a little bit exciting because I have a new book out. And it's called Advent for Kids. Thank you. The one person's seen it. So Advent for Kids has just been released this week. Now, for anyone who's ever tried to write a book, it's a process. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, is the process of how this book came to be. Now, I've been a writer for, I guess about 15 years now, on and off here and there, in between raising kids and working and ministry and all that stuff that happens in life. Now, writing is one of those things, like most creative arts, that actually requires a bit of brain space. It requires a little bit of margin in your life often. Doesn't mean you can't scribble something down in the 2 seconds while you're waiting in the school pickup line, but it does mean those bigger works, they take time. And time's something that's probably been my hardest thing. And unlike Craig, I haven't been able to quit my job. I did like that suggestion, however. And actually, at the end of the year, I am. So, you know, maybe that was prophetic. But I am a great believer in honouring the gifts and the desire that God's put on your heart. I grew up as a kid who loved to read. I loved to talk. My brothers will tell you that. We were joking one day about what jobs we might have had in medieval days, and he suggested that I would have been the perfect town crier. As only a brother can say, it's all right. I said he might have been the village idiot. So it was fair and square in the end. But I think for me, there is such joy in words. I think as a child, I discovered the power of words when I was really young. Words can change the world. And I 100% believe that. And it doesn't matter whether they're spoken or written or sung. There is something just inherently powerful about words. I trained to be a teacher, and I've been a primary teacher for 25 years. Haven't been in the classroom for a couple of years now, but I loved my time. And hats off to all the teachers. Well done. You have survived a really difficult time. And when I was teaching, kids just engage with story. They just love stories. And I think that's because we're all designed to know story and to feel story and to live story, because that's what God has given us. He has expressed his presence, his plan, his purpose through story. And we're wired that way. And I decided when I was in my probably early 20s that I was going to have a go at writing, because I always thought that writers were like magic people who were just sprinkled with fairy dust, and it was only those people who could be writers, because I didn't know anyone who was a writer. And then when I was home in my 30s, when I was home with my kids, I had intellectual space. I didn't have physical space. We had 4 kids in 5.5 years, including a set of twins. So there was no physical space. But my brain was kind of doing the mum thing and that kind of routine and the rhythm of your day. But I was able to think about things a little bit differently. And so I started writing seriously, and I did my own version of an apprenticeship, which was thousands of hours of writing courses, online blogs, websites, research, trying to work out how do you become a writer? Like, what is the process? And I ended up submitting, and over the period of about 5 years, I had 4 picture books published, which was incredibly rewarding, very exciting. 2 of them were through an Adventist publisher in the UK, but the other 2 were commercials. So I've kind of gone down that playing with the big boys kind of path, which is really, really competitive. And any little win, you celebrate. So that's been an awesome journey. But then I kind of felt like I stagnated. I felt like everything I did, I thought I was writing well, and it wasn't being picked up by anyone. I get great rejections, which is better than bad rejections, but it's still a rejection. So I get great rejections that were like, we love your work, we want to see more, have you got anything else you can send us? And I'd send it and I'd still get, yeah, we love it, but we don't love it enough. So then I started writing longer works, and I've probably got, 15 novels at home on my laptop that are in various stages of development. And again, still didn't get anywhere. I have an agent, and that's as hard as getting a publisher. And I sent her my latest one. I read it to my class when I was last teaching a few years ago in year 6. They ate it up, and I'm like, this is the one. This is the one. I'm going to actually finally crack one of the big 5 publishers. Penguin or Scholastic, Hardy Grant, one of those. She sent it out, not a bite. It's really humbling being a writer, because you put your heart into what you're doing, and I think in most creative things, you actually do the work before you get the reward. And you have to somehow make the work itself the reward, because if you're relying on stuff around you, there's not enough validation to go around for everybody, let me tell you. And it seems to be that in a commercial sense, people go with well-knowns because they're running a business, and I understand that. But it was still really hard because I thought I was going to get somewhere with this book. So that one didn't fly either. But I went to a Christian Writers Conference in Sydney in 2017. And that was when something began to shift for me. I still had my hopes at that point pinned on this other book that I'd written. But I went to this conference, and it was held at a monastery of all places in the outskirts of Sydney. I don't know Sydney that well. I don't know what direction I drove, have no idea, it was dark. But I think it was like out west somewhere, possibly south a little bit. And there was this beautiful monastery, and we spent the weekend there with Christian creatives. And that did something to my heart, to actually be in a place where not only was I with creatives, but I was with people who were using that in service of something bigger than themselves. And part of that journey for me was going on a prayer walk, this beautiful prayer garden they had there. And it was a really conscious decision of mine to do that day. And it was actually just before the awards ceremony. And I've got some books out the back today. And one of them, Small and Big, actually won the award that year for Best Picture Book by a Christian author in Australia. Thank you. Which was amazing and very exciting. And I ended up winning the overall Best Author category for all genres that year as well. So that was fabulous. But before that, I walked this prayer garden path. And as I'm walking, I'm going, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here trying to use what you've given me in service of you. And I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? Because whatever it is, I'll do it. Do you want me to focus on the local church? Do you want me to teach? What do you want me to do? And I get to the middle of this prayer garden, and there's this beautiful little altar there. And it's designed to just leave all your burdens there. And as I'm really searching and seeking God's heart, he spoke to me in a way that was incredibly powerful. And I actually heard his voice, and that's only happened twice in my life. And this was one of those times. And he said to me, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to be mine. And that is what I wear engraved on my necklace to remind me, because I am a doer. I like to fix problems. I like to make things happen. I like to chase opportunities. But that's not what he called me to do. He called me just to be his. And that night, after I'd won the award and after I was on this absolute high of celebration and affirmation and validation of my writing, I read this from Isaiah 43. But now, says the Lord, the one who created you, Jacob, the one who formed you, Israel, don't fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When through the rivers, they won't sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you won't be scorched, and flame won't burn you. I held on to that be mine for the next few years. And in a very unlikely chain of events, I got an incredibly public call to study theology. Now, that was not on my plan at all. I'm married to a pastor. Who needs two pastors in the one family? Like, it made no sense whatsoever. And I argued with God. And I went, no way, this is silly. Everyone's going to laugh. I'm laughing. Like, this makes no sense. And yet, that was the call. I could not doubt it, because I said, if this is what you want, God, you're going to have to make it clear. Yeah, it was clear in front of 800 people at Big Camp, when the pastor on stage at the end of his call was doing this really vibrant, passionate call at the end and affirming people and saying, maybe you've been called to step up into local leadership at your local church. Maybe you've been called to start a ministry for the homeless. And he turns around, doesn't know me at all, points at me and said, maybe you've been called to study theology at Avondale. Yeah, so I couldn't argue. So that's what I've done. I'm currently 10 out of 16 subjects through my grad dip in ministry and theology. I've been studying for 3 years while working full-time for 2 with 4 kids and a husband and ministry and all that. And it's been insane and it makes no sense still. Until I hold up this book. In January this year, Nathan Brown from Science Publishing rang me. And he said, Karen, you know my book Advent? He'd just published that last year at Christmas. Does anyone know the book Advent? It's a brilliant book. If you haven't got it, please get your hands on it. It's a daily chapter for the month of December through the Christmas story like you've never explored it before. Nathan's a smart writer. His word choices are divine, but he's also really accessible. And he takes these beautiful theological concepts and brings them down into a way that suddenly the nativity story that we've all grown up with just bounces off the page. But that was for adults. And he rang me and said, Karen, I have a proposition for you. So you notice that I didn't do anything in this process so far. I haven't hustled. I haven't gone and looked for opportunities. I haven't gone knocking on doors. I've clung on to the whole be mine. And that's what I did. For 3 years, I chose to just sit where God had placed me. And yeah, work on my craft. Yeah, keep writing when I could. But trust that being His would be enough. And Nathan rings me and says, we've got an idea. We want to take this Advent book and we want to turn it into a resource for families. And we think you're the person to write it. Are you interested? I didn't have to think about the answer to that question because of course I was interested. Man, what an amazing thing. So I got to use my passion for kids. I got to use my experience as a teacher and in children's ministries and as a chaplain. I got to use all that writing that I'd done for kids that never saw the light of day and possibly never will. And I got to use my theology degree. And in the middle of all that, in my crazy life, I said to them, they said, can we have it by June 30? And I went, not a chance. I need to wait for that 6-week end of semester break from Avondale. You can have it by the end of July. And they went, yeah, all right. So I thought about it for that first few months of the year. Then as soon as my last exam finished, the end of first semester, I'd already done the groundwork. I'd already read Nathan's work and taken notes. Because this is a companion volume, which is why his name's on the cover. Because my book is a derivative of his book. I read his book, took notes, looked at themes, and then reworked it for families. And then in 6 weeks, I wrote the 31 chapters of Advent for Kids. Each chapter has a range of elements to it. You have a round table. It's designed for use as a family, as a whole, something you can use at the dinner table, family worship, in the car. There's a question, the round table question, and that's something everyone can answer. It's aimed at kids from 5 to 12-year-olds, but I actually think adults, even without kids, could get a blessing out of it because it takes these deep theological things and it presents them in a way that is accessible to a 5-year-old. Now, if we can't explain our theology in a way that children understand, then we don't actually understand it either. So this flexed a lot of my writing muscles and my theological growing understanding. And I rang Nathan and said, Nathan, why did you write a whole chapter on the preeminence of Jesus and how do you expect me to do that for 5-year-olds? And he just went, yeah, that's why we asked you. And we didn't do it. So there are deep things in this. There's the Trinity explained. And it's been written for an audience that is within the family unit. So you've got the round table question at the start. You've got a remember section, which is a Bible verse. Then you have the read section, which is the story. It's only a couple of 100 words for each day. Then you have a reflect question at the end. What did you learn? What was the highlight? When have you felt that way? And then there's a react section where that's activity-based. And there's a website, if you go to Science Publishing and just Google the book, there's a website with activities that are based around some of the days. So it might be listen to a song, it might be create a Christmas decoration, it might be write a note to someone thanking them for something. And if you want even more resources, and this is where I'm blown away. So here's me, hustled for 15 years to try and make it as a writer, and probably the most number of copies I've ever sold of a book is 1,000. In Australia, that's a good print run, 1,000 books. There were 10,000 pre-orders of this one. Now, I can't believe it. Like, I really can't. I'm constantly going, God, are you sure you know what you're doing? Because it doesn't feel like I deserve it. And the thing is, I don't. But God put me in the place to do something that is going to impact 10,000 families this Christmas. Road to Bethlehem in Victoria are using this book as the foundation of their entire month of December. They're mailing them out to 1,500 families in Victoria who aren't church people, they don't necessarily engage in faith, and yet they're mailing them out. And you can go on, here's a secret for you. If you go to Road to Bethlehem and you sign up, you'll get daily content related to the book. They've created videos and songs and digital content that you'll get just magically in your inbox every day for the month of December. And I just am overwhelmed that my words, that God, well, Nathan's words first, then have become my words, that have then become other people's passions and other people's content creators. And it just has shown me how generous we should be as creatives. That we need to have that generosity of heart and trust that God is going to use us and our commitment and our passion and our skill. But he's going to go ahead and make something 100 times bigger than what we ever imagined. And Sandra, I think you've experienced that with your sing-along. I have family in America who watch it. And I feel that that is such a privilege. It's also a really big responsibility. I said, Nathan, this is my first real theological thing. What if I'm wrong? And he said, just tell him you based it on mine. I said, yep, excellent, great. Perfect answer. But when I look back to that, where God said to me 4 years ago, be mine. Don't do anything. Just be mine. This is my Be Mine book. It's a book of my heart. It's a book of my faith. And I just pray that your family might be able to get your hands on a copy this year. A lot of churches have bought them in bulk to give out. I know we've done that down on the Gold Coast. Our school has I signed 105 copies the other day for the families in our primary school. And that was through our school buying them through the publisher. And we're using it as a real outreach for families. And we're encouraging people to buy one for yourself and buy one to give away. Because it's full of beautiful illustrations, it's a really easy read, and it's something that gets to the real heart of Christmas. So Christmas blessings to you all. And no matter what industry you're in, no matter what kind of creative you are, just remember, be his, and he's got you covered. Thank you.
Happy Sabbath, everybody. For those of you who don't know us, we are a group called Evidence. Evidence has been ministering around our Brisbane conference and other places for over 15 years, led by our fearless leader, Sylvia. We've had many members come and go, but our main focus is just to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ in song and to be able to lift his name up and to minister. So this morning our song that we're singing is You Reign. And we love singing this song. It's such a vibrant, uplifting song, but it talks about how even before there was a drop in the ocean, that he reigned, and how powerful he is, and how awesome his creation is. So we hope this morning that you enjoy, and that you can, enjoy the words and be touched by this song.
drop in the ocean. Even before there was a star in the sky. Even before the world was put in motion, you were on your throne. You were on your throne. You reign. Glory in the highest. You reign. Let creation testify by your name. Every knee will bow and every tongue proclaim that Jesus reigns. Even before your hand made the heavens, even before the breath of all mankind, even before we had to be forgiven, you were on your throne. You were on your throne. You reign. Glory in the highest. You reign. Let creation testify by your name. Every knee will bow and every tongue proclaim that Jesus reigns. Yesterday, today, and forever. You are God who was and is to come. You reign. You reign. Glory in the highest. You reign. Let creation testify by your name. Every knee will bow and every tongue proclaim. Let every tongue proclaim. Let every tongue proclaim that Jesus reigns. Let Jesus
Mucho, by definition, means very much or more, and I don't know anyone who wants more out of life than us mamas. Have you ever found yourself knee-deep in motherhood and realised that you have totally lost your joy? Overwhelmed by too much to do, never feeling like you have enough time to connect with those you love? You find yourself standing at the fridge wondering, what's going to be for dinner again? With your mind running in overwhelm, and you feel like you are constantly chasing your tail. That's exactly where I found myself. I would love to share with you the proven strategies, tools and techniques that I have discovered to get joy back in your motherhood too. Come along with me and let's get your mama mojo back. Good day. It's sort of getting close to lunchtime, isn't it? Well, my name is Naomi, and I know a lot of your faces are familiar. And I really resonated with what JP was saying earlier, because I do feel like sometimes challenging circumstances forge different things. We have beauty come out of ashes, and definitely I found that God, as I face some challenging things of my own, I found He, out of that, brought out which remember, and it was wonderful for both what I was going through then and also as I journeyed. It served me, and I hope it's a blessing as I share it with you. As you heard me say in my little clip there, mucho by definition means very much or more, and I don't know anyone who wants more out of life than us mamas. More time to ourselves, more connection with those we love, more self-care built into our days, more easy go-to recipes to put on the table meal after meal after meal, and a more efficiently running home, more efficiently running home so we don't feel like we're constantly chasing our tails. And that's basically what Mucho Mama is. It's all about helping us make small, mindful moves towards the mama that you were created to be. And as I always say, joy is not simply happiness. Joy can be present in the most challenging, some of the saddest seasons of our life, and also in the beautiful and crazy moments of motherhood. So with that in mind, I want to firstly remind you of two things. First, you might be currently knee-deep in motherhood or lifehood, because whenever you're going through something difficult, obviously not all of us here are mothers, but when we're going through something, it can be very hard to face the days and things that are happening in our lives. So you might find yourself knee-deep in a challenge, and you might desire change and be struggling with the overwhelm. But I want to remind you that, first of all, before I share what I'm going to today, that God is a giver of grace. And so I want you to give yourself loads of grace for whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, that God has the grace to cover that. And that He has created you to live a life of abundance and joy. He doesn't want to leave you in the overwhelm that you're struggling with, but He also doesn't want you to have a desire to do some giant leap from where you are to where He has created you to be and how He wants you to live. It's a time, I think it's really important to have a time of contentment, to know that you can put things in place. He can do all the change that He needs to in your life. And once you've got those things in place, that you can know that in 6 days, in 6 weeks, in 6 months, you can be in a very different situation than you are right now. But to give yourself grace as you make that journey. I don't want you to let you guilt rob yourself of all the beautiful things that are happening just because they're happening alongside really difficult moments. And sometimes motherhood and sometimes life, when it's challenging, can bring really difficult things into our life. In those hard moments, I want you to remind yourself that you have things in place so that it will not be the way that it feels forever. And the second is a reminder, before I share, to any mamas or people out there who are struggling so much that they feel that having their life described as joy-filled feels so different to what they're actually experiencing. I want you to encourage that this can definitely change. A big part of the Mucho Mama mindset is all about getting clear on what self-care really looks like. Because when you're taking care of you, it's so much easier to face challenging days and challenging moments. It's all about getting your self-care cup filled back up and only giving of the overflow. I think we have often heard, keep your self-care, keep your cup filled up. But I want to totally make a new way of looking at this and have your cup so filled that it's overflowing, and only give of the overflow, because it makes taking care of yourself a really important priority, because you cannot love those around you if you're not taking care of yourself. With those two things in mind, I really want to make sure that as I'm sharing that I'm an encouragement and I'm not discouraging you in any way, because sometimes when you're going through a hard season, when someone's trying to inspire you, just listen to what I'm going through. So I want you to remember grace. I want you to remember that it's okay to need to take care of yourself first before you make any changes in your life. And now I want you to, there's a little picture that I'm going to have up on the screen here in a moment. And I've got a picture of a vintage bike, because in this season of my life, that's the sort of bike that I ride. But you can have a picture of any type of bike that you love and that resonates more with you. I heard Craig speak earlier about the 25,000 spins, and it was a joy in the season of my life before children being able to go on a different type of bike and enjoy riding more of a road bike. But right now I find myself with a vintage bike with a basket on the front and a seat for my youngest child. I'm a mother of 4 beautiful children. And I want you to, the reason why I wanted to have that picture there is because I want you to picture yourself standing at the top of a hill, looking down the hill to the road before you, and I want you to imagine that the life that is waiting for you there is one that is beautiful, joy-filled, you're living in your purpose, and that is all waiting for you. So you've got purpose, satisfaction, and joy awaiting you. And I'm actually going to give you a little bit of time in a moment for you to allow God to give you a bit of an image of like a facet or a little part of that life, as much as you can receive in 1 minute. Because I'm just going to give you 1 minute just to close your eyes so that you can just really be open to Him showing you what a joy-filled life would look like. The things you might want to think about are what dinner time looks like, what bedtime looks like, how much energy do you have to get through each day? How do you feel after a meal? Do you feel that you are nourishing yourself well? Do you speak kindly to yourself? Are you making time to take care of yourself? And what do your relationships and friendships feel like? Are they deep, honest, and satisfying? Now, I just want you, and I will give you this time in a moment, I just want you to listen to your heart. I want you to allow God to speak into your life, the vision that he has for you, and it's different to every person. He's created you uniquely with a dream for you. I want you just to close your eyes and take that time in a moment. But I want to share with you a little story because I believe that there's different seasons. There's short seasons and long seasons. So I have 3 older children, 10, 8, and 7. And I have a little 1-year-old girl. And my 3 older children are like angelic sleepers. I didn't realise how good they were until I got the full experience with my 4th child. And she's just, that's not her strong point. She's delightful, brings so much joy, but sleep is just not her strongest quality. And so in this season, you know, my joy-filled life would look like her sleeping in her cot, only a metre, like a bit from her bed, just sleeping in there for just a night. That would be like joy to me. And I've actually sought God's heart and been like, you know, Jesus, like, please, like, can you just make her like the others? Like, why is it so difficult for her to sleep? And actually, you know, I felt God say back to me, no, like, I want you to keep her close. I want you to allow this connection. It's important for whatever reason. I don't quite understand it, but it's important. And so I'm leaning into this short season, and I'm hoping it's not too much longer, this short season of allowing her to have this need, me meeting it, and I'm still doing things like, you know, when it's her nap time, I still lay her in her bed and I sing her a song and she goes to sleep there, and I'm hoping that just like transfers tonight, but it hasn't happened yet. But there are seasons like that where it's a short time and it's hard, and you do need to make sure you've just got self-care in place so that you can get through that short, hard season. But then there are times when he's wanting us to make a change. Like the season is like, right, that is enough of that season. You know, everything in your life is mature enough that you can make a big change. And he'll want to allow you to have your life, and however it feels now, he'll want to change that in a significant and a big way. And it's a season where it'll be hard in like patches, but he wants to call you to a new way of doing life. And so I'm just going to ask you, only if you feel comfortable, don't feel like there's any pressure, but sometimes closing your eyes just allows you to not be distracted. So if you would mind closing your eyes, if you feel comfortable, for just 1 minute. And I just want you to be still, and I want you to just say in your heart, you know, God, what does joy-filled life feel like to me? What does it mean to live a life of joy? And just let him speak that to you. He might just give you a little glimpse. It's not going to be time to go into your full life, but hopefully he'll, you know, maybe something, the most important part. So just close your eyes, and I'm going to give you just 1 minute just to receive from God what he would love your joy-filled life to look like. Now, hopefully you have a little bit of a clearer vision. And I'm going to share with you a quick story before I continue, and that is, I heard a beautiful podcast recently, and it said it was all about worship. And, you know, it compared it to catching up with a friend. So it said, you know, you're walking through the shopping centre and then you see your good friend and you have, you know, 5 minutes with them, and it's just beautiful. It's restoring. You have a wonderful time. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, better go, you know, get back into your day. And then you sometimes carve out time and space in your life to have like a whole day with somebody, like where you just, you know, your phone's off, you are just there in that moment, everything's prepared, you just can be present, connect, nourish each other. There's no, you know, getting back to life because you've actually allowed that time and space to just be filled up. And he says, you know, sometimes, and I believe that there's a real beautiful covering, especially over people going through hard times and over mothers, that when we're in that season that he covers us and he's like, you know, I can do a lot in 5 minutes. But sometimes he's like, I don't want just a 5-minute catch up. Like, I've got so much more soul-filling time that I want to restore with you in your worship. And so, yes, we've had 1 minute, but I would challenge you and encourage you to take time when you're at home to have a longer space to go, God, tell me what my joy-filled life looks like. What more than that, 1 minute and then jumping back into this talk, because I think sometimes he wants to show us this beautiful life that he has for us, and it's so easy to get distracted in the world that we live in. But hopefully now you have this little vision of your motherhood or your lifehood more clearly defined. I just want you to imagine that you're back at the top of that hill, you're looking down the road before you, and you look down at the front wheel of your bike that you're about to ride down the hill to this beautiful life that's awaiting you, like purpose-filled, incredible, and you notice there's one spoke on the front wheel. And you're like, okay, so this beautiful life's awaiting me, but I've got one spoke. How would you feel about riding this down this hill now? Now, it is a wonderful life that's awaiting you, I've got to get there, but would you feel that maybe as you rode down that your rim would buckle and bend? Maybe you're feeling a little unsure. And this image is a really beautiful analogy, and I'm sharing it because it's a wonderful way to think about life or motherhood. Because sometimes we are about, this life is awaiting us and we try ride through it and we've literally got one spoke. We just don't have enough to get to this life that's awaiting us. And so we, it's not safe to even attempt to ride down that hill, and we'll have, disaster or calamity happen as we try. There really is a whole wonderful and joy-filled world that is awaiting you. And the more spokes that you can get back on the bike that represents your life, the smoother, safer your ride will be down towards the wonderful life that's awaiting you. So you might be wondering what these spokes are. And after 5 years of just letting God teach and grow me in this concept, I felt like they slowly fell into 6 core values. Now, regarding values, it's really important to note that we actually are all living by values, whether they're subconscious or conscious, we're all living by values. We make so many of our decisions based on them. We get into conflict based on them. We get these values passed down to us from our family. We have them given to us by the culture around us, and we have them imprinted on us daily by what we watch, read, and absorb. So it's super important to get clear on the values that you want to live by and the ones that God has for your life compared to the person next to you, or for even the goals and the core values that he has for your family or anybody else. He has a particular way that he wants you to live your life. And so that's really important to get clear on those. The core values that seem to come up over and over again were refined down, and I will share those with you now. But as they are, fleshed out, it's very individualised to each of us. It's not something that is prescriptive in any means. The first value that I want to share is get vision. Remembering that the vision that God has for your life is unique and individual. He wants to reveal the blueprint that he has for your life and your life only. And he wants you to step into your purpose and calling. Now, the enemy, on the other hand, has great plans to distract you. He might distract you with conflict. He might distract you with scrolling social media. He might distract you with shopping, online shopping, Netflix binging. And none of these are necessarily bad in themselves, but they are definitely used to be a distraction in our lives from finding what our real calling is, our real vision that God has for us, and for us being able to actually take action to step into those things and have the time to do that. So this core value, get vision, is all about seeking God's heart and letting him paint a really clear picture of the life that he has created you for, so that you can step out into that vision, purpose, and calling. Then there are other core values that are more simple, like get moving and get nourished, because I realised that what I fueled my body with, how often I moved, and what type of movement I did had a really big impact on how I felt, and was a really big part of helping me get my mama mojo back. Then there's core values like get less, because minimalism made me realise that when I was ordered and organised, my life felt so much simpler and smoother, and I could function better, and therefore I could, be kinder, more thoughtful, and interact better with those, my family and other people important in my inner circle. get mindful, because I realised that making time for spiritual meditation and lots of green space and time in nature was a real blessing in my life, allowing me to connect with my Maker. And low tox was a really big part of it as well, because I realised that the less harmful chemicals that I had into my skincare, less chemicals that I had in my cleaning, and the less chemicals I allowed into the food I was consuming had a really big impact in lots of ways, but it also gave me a lot of purpose and joy to be mindful of those things and to steward those things well in my family. And the last core value that for a very long time I just thought was like one of the other spokes. I was like, yep, get connected. It's just like one of these spokes. And I really felt for a long time God saying, no, it's actually not. And I was like, well, what is it then? And I had this beautiful revelation one day where he was like, it's actually the rim. It's such a foundational part that the core values actually have to go into every single part of it. So you need to be connected to your Maker to receive this beautiful vision. You need to be connected to your core values and to be making rhythms and rituals that allow those to flow out. And you need to be connected to yourself and also to others around you and your interaction with them. Each of these core values are what allows the spokes to be relevant and to support us to ride onto the beautiful life that we were created for. So make time to connect with our Maker, ourselves, and form habits and rhythms in our life that serve us is so important. And in closing, I just want to say today that I'm simply here today to remind you of the beautiful life that God has for you and is waiting for you. I hope that many of you are already just like stepping into it and living that, but if you look down at your life or the bike that represents your life and you're feeling that you're the wheel of your bike, that the spokes are looking a little sparse and like bare, and you feel like you could get a hand getting some more spokes back to ride into this beautiful life of joy and purpose that God is wanting you to live into, then you would be more than welcome to come and join the Muchimama community so I can be used in any way as God's vessel to help you do that. I feel God has just taught me so much, and I would love to bless that. You know, I'm blessed to be a blessing, to bless that onto anybody else who is struggling in that same way. So I want to thank you so much. And actually there's a beautiful quote that I will leave you with by Zach Beach, and that is that we are allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at once. And don't forget that, beautiful mamas, but also beautiful people, because I'm not speaking to just mamas here today. Thank you very much.
Lord of all creation, of water, earth, and sky. The heavens are your tabernacle. Glory to the Lord on high. God of wonders beyond our galaxy. You are holy.
early in the morning, I will celebrate the light. And when I stumble in the darkness, call your name by night. I will call your name by night. God of wonders beyond our galaxy, you are holy, holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, holy. Lord of heaven and earth. Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah to the Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah to the Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah to the Lord of heaven and God of wonders beyond our galaxy, you are holy, holy. Precious Lord, reveal your heart to me. Father, holy, holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, 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 Hallelujah to the Lord of heaven and earth. 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 Hallelujah to the Lord of
Hey guys, you might remember us from Gigi Magazine. We now have a podcast for teen girls and for kids, which boys and girls. We're about to record an episode for the kids, and I'm actually going to transform into Poppy. She's the host and the character I played.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm so glad you could come along with us today. Are you ready to see what's in my glitter box? Oh, I can't wait. Come on, come and have a look.
There are really exciting news of things and projects that have happened within a year since the last creative conference. I'm going to say ebooks, audiobooks, libraries, podcasts. It's amazing how God has directed our path and made it clear to what we want to focus on and grow. And we are just so excited to share this with you. You know, we do this because we are deeply passionate about our girls and our kids. You know, things out there, unfortunately, are not uplifting. They leave them depressed, unfortunately suicidal, and there's no hope for them. But we want the literature, the audios, the stories to lift them up and find their truth, their worth in God, and know that there's, you know, hope out there and a better future for them. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be here. Before we start, I think in true Gigi podcast fashion, we're going to start with a story. So kids, if you're out there, you can listen.
and we have a story for you. It actually comes out this month, so you're getting a bit of a sneak peek of something that hasn't been released yet. Okay. There was a war in Eleanor's country. Big airplanes flew above as the sky started to go dark one Sunday night. They zoomed through the sky and threw bombs to the tiny, colourful houses below. Boom. Hide! Eleanor's papa cried out, and in a hurry, all her brothers and sisters and mum and dad rushed to hide under beds, tables, and chairs. Eleanor's heart beat fast in her chest. She was afraid. Boom! Another bomb exploded nearby. Kids, you need to pray for God's protection, her papa instructed. His voice drifted from his hiding place and floated to Eleanor's ears and her siblings. Everyone nodded. Eleanor closed her eyes and prayed to Jesus. Dear Lord, please protect us from bombs and keep us all safe. In Jesus' name, amen. As soon as she prayed, a peace settled in her heart. She knew that God was by her side. Hiding with her was her mama. Eleanor hurried and buried her head in her mama's shoulder as yet another bomb boomed closer. She covered her ears and hid deeper under the table. Will this ever stop? She wondered. Eleanor closed her eyes, and for a moment she imagined she was outside playing in the green fields with her little black poodle Bella running behind. She would throw the ball and Bella would run back and get it. Eleanor loved her little dog. She hoped she was safe under the bed where she had gone to hide. Boom! The sounds of explosions continued. It felt like it was going to be a very long night. Eleanor prayed again. Please, Jesus, help us. Then she had an idea. Mama, she said in a whisper, could you tell me a story, please? Her mama hugged her close, nodded, and began to tell her one story after another. Boom, came another sound in the distance. Zoom, planes flew above. But Eleanor listened to her mama's stories with intent. Suddenly, in the middle of the story, Eleanor's head shot up. What was that sound? It's raining, her papa exclaimed. Her mama grinned. Her brothers and sisters clapped, but Eleanor frowned. Why is everyone happy? She asked. Because when it rains, the bombing planes can't see and they have to go home. Her mama kissed the top of her head. Eleanor's eyes rounded. Oh, so no more bombs tonight. That is correct. Her papa came to pull her and her mama out from under the table. We need to thank God for taking care of us, he said. Eleanor ran towards the bedroom and brought Bella from under the bed. Come, Bella, we are going to pray. Guess what? No more bombs for tonight. We are safe. She grabbed her little black poodle and twirled around. Her laughter and the dog's barks echoed around the house. So, I'm Steph from Gigi Ministry, and this is my sister Steph. And the reason... my sister Esther. That just shows you how nervous I am up here. But the reason we wanted to share this story is because this is the why of Gigi podcast, because Eleanor is actually Esther, and this is something my family went through back in their country.
So as a little girl, I remember that we went to through the war. Steph wasn't even in the picture then, but the rest of us were. And I remember that for me, stories were a way to... Because I used to suffer from anxiety, severe panic attacks, because of the trauma when you go through the war, all these things, especially as a little kid, that really affects your brain. So I remember as a little girl, the only way that I would find comfort was through stories. And my mum was a great storyteller. She loved reading a lot. So I would sit on her laps and I would tell her, tell me a story. And Cinderella was my favorite. I don't know why, but I would say, tell me the one with the girl that loses her shoe. Or then she would tell me a Bible story. And I just loved that because it was a way that I could forget, a way that I could hide the pain. And as the years went by, I realized that I loved to write. That was my passion, and I wanted to bring that kind of peace and joy, I guess, and maybe other kids who were suffering from the same thing as I was, bring them through it by stories. But as I was getting older, I realized that maybe the books that I was reading weren't that great, because I started going into books with, spirits and haunted houses, and the scarier it was, the better it was for me. And then I started wanting to write that. I thought, this is what I want to write. I want to leave a legacy. And what kind of legacy do you leave with that kind of literature? And God was wrestling. He was chasing me. But I kept running away because I was reading these books. I was still a church girl. But I was reading these books and I was thinking, why am I going to write for Christians? Christian books, that's boring. I don't even read them myself. And that was the mentality that I had. But God didn't give up on me. He chased me. And one day my mum told me some really loving truth. As I was driving, and I said, I had another rejection of my manuscript. And she talked to me. She does everything in a loving way. And she speaks such truth. But she leaves you thinking, when they plant that seed and just bothers you the whole week? And that's what happened. And I went into this battle, you could say. I could feel that God was pulling me to him, and I could feel that the devil was saying, what are you going to write? You're not good enough to write for me. I want you to keep writing what you're writing. But one day God did win the battle, and I surrendered. And it was after that God gave me the privilege of working and writing some things for a devotional, a Bible study for teen girls, which was amazing. And then God just guided me that way. And when I wanted to keep writing and Steph came, we finished with the magazine and everything, I wanted to still keep writing and I wanted to tell others about God through stories, because that's what I find my joy in. And so God gave me the podcast. And then Steph came along and helped me with that. And now I can say, I want to live, not my legacy, I want to leave God's word in children's heart, in teen girls, because that's the only thing that's going to really comfort us, bring us comfort, that we have Jesus in our heart. And so it's been amazing where God is leading and taking it. But I'll let Steph continue.
So actually this time last year, we were standing right here as well. And we're here again, and God has blessed this 12 months amazingly. So our Little Kids podcast has over 120,000 downloads, and that's been a huge blessing. We get emails from kids living in England, Costa Rica, USA, Austria, and other countries. We also launched GG Teen Radio for teen girls this year in March. And we did a daily episode for girls to start the day with God, Sometimes we find it hard to connect, so listen to it, get in the car, on the bus, however you get to school or work, and we wanted the girls to do that. So we started that, and we've done 112 episodes, so that was a big blessing as well. We also did a Gigi Rally in partnership with Mangrovat Church, and we had about 80 girls and mums attend that, and that was also another big blessing. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary of when Gigi was actually founded, and we couldn't believe it's been going for so long. We also printed a 20-page magazine for teen girls in April this year, and we do have some today, but Esther will tell you about that later. And also, the biggest one I think that's happened is one of our team members has resigned from work and is working on full-time ministry, but I'll let Esther tell you about that.
Yes, so I still remember the day as if it was yesterday, but on the 26th of June this year, God said, it's time. There was no warning, there was nothing. I wasn't prepared, but he said, it's time for you to step into full-time ministry. And before, years ago, we used to think about one of us has to do ministry one day, because it's very hard to dedicate yourself to two things fully, to do your work, things you love. I loved my work. And then to do the ministry, which I loved as well. But you can only give so much. And so God was saying it's time, because I don't know where he's taking it, but he's got plans. And so he said to me, you need to take that leap. And I had been working at the school for 17 and a half years. This was, at the end of this year, would have been my 18th. But God had other plans. If it was in my plans, I would have said, neatly end at the end of the year and step down that way, leave everything ready. But in the middle of the year, just at the beginning of term 3, it just didn't make sense to me. And last year I was hugely inspired by Wes Turlhurst. He talked about stepping into ministry full time, and it was just encouraging, and I talked to him about it. But there was that fear, complete fear. I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's no way I'm going to do this. One of the girls will have to do it because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of taking that step. But when God said in June, this is time, I had no fear at all. The confidence, the security, just that peace that he gives you, and you know it's from him, and I had to take that step. And it has been now, this is actually my 4th month doing full-time ministry. It's been quite an adventure. It's huge. My days are like from 8:30 to 7:30 p.m. But if I wasn't tired, I wouldn't stop. But I have to go to sleep sometime. But God has just been amazing. And that fear of not having an income, the security of a paycheck, nothing bothers me. And I tell you, if God has asked you to do that, he will provide. Somehow he has his ways. So there are amazing things coming in 2022, and some things that have started now. And I'm just going to get Steph to explain a little bit about where God is taking the ministry.
So for next year, God has impressed us and just put this love, this seed in our heart. To do an audio library for children where they can listen to Bible stories, chapter books, biographies, devotionals, short stories, and more. So we want this safe environment for them where, we can lessen their anxiety, but also let them grow spiritually. Parents don't need to worry what they're listening to because it's all going to help and uplift them. Now, these books, we actually just released a bundle, and that was such a big thing. It was an amazing blessing. But we actually got them professionally narrated and edited, and the pricing of each book individually was over $300 each to produce, and that was a bit of a big step for us. But we said, no, we want God's word to be presented beautifully and be the best quality. So we went ahead, we did it. They're available now, and they're lovely, beautiful books that your kids will definitely enjoy. The other one we have is a teen ebook library. So we've actually found out and we've researched that there are paid and free ebooks and blog content with explicit material that girls are now accessing. And it's leaving them spiritually, emotionally, and physically just depressed. They are just drowning themselves with, I think, everything happening in this content that is not helping them at all. So we want to create this ebook library for the girls that's going to have Bible stories of women of the Bible. It's going to have true stories of teen girls, modernized Bible stories, devotionals, and so much more. And we want to have this for our girls so they can be enriched and feel that hope that is lacking at the moment. So we actually have a sneak peek of 2 covers coming out. So we've got Mrs. Potiphar and the Samaritan woman at the well. So these are beautiful stories that really let them walk in the Bible and see how God works, and how no matter what your past or what your temptations, you can fight that with God. And we want them to rely solely on him. So this is one of the projects we have in mind for next year.
So we'll continue with the podcasts as well for the girls and the children. The other thing is, if you would like to help or be part of the ministry, you can. There are different ways that you can do it. One of them is you can spread the word and let others know about what we have available for children and what we have available for teen girls. You can also buy the audiobook or the ebooks when they come. And we need your prayers because there's always challenges in the way, but we would love your prayers. You could also get the little magazine which we're going to give to the girls. If you're between 12 and 16, come and see us and we'll give you one of these today. But if you have like carols at your church coming, or you want to give it as a little welcome, we've got a church at the moment, a lady sponsored some, and she's giving them to the teen girls that come to visit on the Sabbath. So they're using it as an outreach ministry. The other thing is, this is our fundraiser month, and if you would like to give as little as $1, you are welcome. $1 actually goes a long way in a ministry, as you in ministry would know. But you can find out more on our website of how you can help, and please, we ask that you pray. And just before I finish, I'd like to finish with this Bible verse. Excuse the names, I can't pronounce them in Spanish or in English in this Bible verse, so a little bit difficult, but I loved this, and this is for all the creatives. Exodus 31, 1-6 says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'See, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stone, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of craft. Moreover, I have appointed Holiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, to help him. Also, I have given him ability to all the skilled workers to make everything that I have commanded you.'" So the skills and the knowledge and the wisdom that you have in your gift is a gift from God. It all comes from him, and he says it here clearly. He gives us that. It's not from us. So if you have a dream today, if you have a ministry that you want to start and pursue, take it to God, because impossible is where God begins. May he bless you.
Thank you, ladies, from the GG podcast. Now we're almost finishing up for the conference. We have a few acts remaining, and I just want to introduce the adventurous Luke Martin. I've been reading a lot about you briefly. He's a teacher at BAC, and he teaches like creative arts and technology. Some of that you'll find out. I found out he has experience being like a helicopter and aeroplane pilot. He's also, his joy from being in the air, he's also been a part of a senior climb leader at the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which is very, very cool. He's from a family of 5, and they're known to love travelling, and they're often going on ridiculously long road trips around Australia, my type of thing, or international flights to the USA whenever possible, fingers crossed. If he had a preference, there would be a ban on shoes everywhere, like his bare feet right now, and for the school uniform in schools, also including an Akubra hat, very Australian. His attitude in life is that there are 1,000 solutions to every problem, and he loves failure. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you very much. How is everyone today? Good. Cold. Sorry, Sandra, I can't help you with that one. we'll put on that one. Okay. I am blessed. Okay. Is this going to work? We'll go back a little bit. Sorry. See if we can get back to the start. Okay, we might just miss the first bit. Okay, so failing to succeed. The value of failure in creativity. Who likes to fail? Who likes to fail? Yeah, great. Because failure is important, okay? I'm so blessed. And we'll go to the next photo. Well, there we go. Failure to succeed. Failing already. The value of failure in creativity. I grew up accustomed to being a failure. I therefore was a glass half empty individual. I never did well in school. I didn't fit the ideal educational model. I seemingly couldn't do anything right or as expected. I was also a regular at the principal's office. The secretary would always leave a minty on the desk as I would come out. She, and wink, and it's okay. So I was up there quite often. I was not always sure that the reason I was set up there was fair, but I knew for one thing. I was a failure, and I was reminded of it regularly. At home, I grew up in a unique setting. My father is a master potter and my mother a nurse. My days were filled with practical challenges. We broke things, fixed things, pulled things apart. We found snakes regularly because we lived on property. That wasn't a failure, by the way, it was quite intentional. So this is my dad quite a while ago. His hair is still, and it's not that colour anymore, but we would find snakes quite regularly, and he'd love to put them in his pots, and he'd say, "Oh, have a look at this new one," and people would take the lid off, and this, it was not always the kindest thing to do. We pulled things apart, built things, and this is my brother, by the way, sorry. It's definitely my brother because I can't grow facial hair at all. And our favourite thing, being a potter's family, is we lit things on fire all the time, regularly, and I often would get in trouble for lighting the paddocks on fire. But it was a very bonding experience. You go out there and try and put the thing out again. So I thought this was normal. I thought every family made things at home, fixed things that were broken, or built things that they needed. I genuinely believed that every household had a functioning workshop in the backyard. Where would you otherwise build your furniture, repair the car, or tinker away to bedtime? Problem solving, innovation, and creativity were the norm at home. I then went to school and couldn't do anything right. I had to do it like this. It needed to be just like that. Otherwise, I wasn't doing it right and I was going to fail. I was simply a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. It took me a number of years to shed off a few things and come to a big conclusion. Failure is positive. I was always told that failure was bad, but without failure, we have no autonomy. Think about it. God gave us the gift of choice to make mistakes, to go our own way, or to follow him. While I was learning to fly in high school, I did get the opportunity to fly in high school. It was French or flying, so I chose flying. While I was flying in high school, I was allowed by my instructors to make mistakes, within reason, obviously. This allowed me to find my abilities independently within a safe place and to explore the boundaries of what was possible. Now, growing up, I have a few fears. One of them was heights, one of them was definitely needles, and blood was not always the great one. So I became a pilot, and I remember my first flight. We took off and we're heading out towards Lake Macquarie, and the instructor, Chad was his name, the instructor said, "All right, you can level off now." I didn't want to go down. I was just like, we'll just keep going. So we overcame that and we kept moving on. I eventually, later on, became an otter, an operating theatre assistant at the SAN. And that was full of needles and blood. So that was very, very full on. Later on, I fulfilled a passion or a dream, an absolute monstrous dream of becoming a helicopter pilot. And towards the end of my flying experience, I had a very dramatic experience. I'll show you this photo. That is a helicopter flying. It's in a tree. It is still moving forward, but not properly, okay? This is quite an event that has a very groundbreaking effect on your life, okay? You go through that and you make sure that that never occurs again. Fortunately, I'm here. I was in the back seat here, and I had my camera, and I was taking photos because I was going to make this wonderful lesson plan of how this particular lesson was to work. And I just remember holding the bar in front of me and clicking away, thinking, well, we've got to have evidence of what happened here. I walked away, which was really a blessing. And there's only one way I walked away, a blessing of God. Some experiences of failure are so incredibly defining for a person that they will shape the rest of their lives, for good or bad. Okay, this story I'm going to tell you, for some reason, chokes me up. Okay, so we'll get through it really trying quickly. Okay, there was a place I used to work down in Sydney, and I was an abseiling instructor, and you'd get school groups coming through by the hour, and you'd have to get all these kids down the abseiling face, and everyone was so joyful and happy and, you know, boisterous. You get them all down, but I did notice this one boy, Daniel. He was up the back of the group, up the top of the where we were set up, and he was just kind of wringing his hands. He was terrified. He did not want to come over, didn't put a harness on, didn't put a helmet on, didn't come anywhere near. The session finished, his whole class moved away, and he just stood there, almost frozen. And I walked over to him, his teacher was still there, and she said, "You okay?" I said, "You're all right. Do you want to have a go? Are you scared?" I said, what if I help you? I said, okay. So over he comes, harness on, and hook him up, and there's a bit of time going through this whole experience. He gets to the edge, and he's shaking. And he loads the... Who's abseiled before? Yeah? Who's experienced that little bit when you go from here to here to here to... Okay? And once you get down there a little bit, she's much better. Okay? You're like, I've got this, I could do that 10 times more. Okay? But that little bit there. So Daniel, he was not... He was needing the larger harness. He was a bigger boy. That's not the problem. The fear was the problem. The doubt was the problem. Once we got him to that edge, he just loaded the rope, sitting there, and his eyes widened and pierced through me. And I realised he lost his bladder control. He had these heavy denim khaki, not khaki, they were camouflage print pants and this big t-shirt over. And he was terrified. Absolutely terrified. I said, it's okay. Absolutely fine. And we got him down across the cliff, down to the bottom, and he's jumping with joy. Jumping with joy. Have you ever overcome something like that? That you believed with your whole soul that you could never do anything. You were worthless. He had overcome it. His teacher was down the bottom, gave him a huge hug, ignored it. The whole realisation that he now had very visibly wet himself then came over him. And she's like, don't worry about it. I really felt for him. You know, I really, really felt for him. And they're walking back, and his whole school, his whole grade level was up on the balcony waiting to go in for lunch, and it was only moments before they realised that Daniel had wet himself. And I felt for him so bad. And that's right when his teacher pushed him in the dam. Turning failure into success. That's creativity. Whether or not we know the actual risk we are taking, the perceived risk is what impacts the personal outcome for each individual. You might be totally fine going over an abseiling cliff or anything like that. The person next to you, it might be a totally different story. Totally different story. The outcome of achieving that result is what matters. I don't sorry, I do apologise. As Australians, we embrace and celebrate failures. We love the underdog story. Historical figures such as Ned Kelly have a hero status attached to them. They ultimately failed, but as a nation, we seem to have a spot in our hearts for them. We kind of lift them up. Like sticking it to the man. And, you know, this guy, you know, got to it. This fella's pretty creative. Okay, made himself a suit of armour. They struggled with that one. Okay. Individuals like this, we celebrate. But for some reason, in our schools, failure is this dreadful thing. Now, I don't consider myself to be a particularly creative person. If you say, Luke, I want you to make something creative, just do something, I'm lost. Just totally stumped. And you ask me to solve a problem, I feel pretty comfortable there. The two concepts of creativity and problem solving are intrinsically linked. Creativity occurs when people accept that risk and failure is inherently a part of a successful creative process. You can't truly create, push the boundaries, do something new without the high potential of failure. How many people in here like to draw? Are there any just general artists? Okay, good. Now, how many of you like to draw something and say, hey, rate me? What do you reckon? Just pass it around, everyone write the note down. Are you comfortable to do that? Are you, I'll let everyone judge me right there. One of the most difficult things to do is convince someone who is not willing to fail to risk failing, to risk not getting it right. We have this preconceived idea of what's right and what's wrong. Okay? It is counterintuitive to our sense of safety to fail. Now, this is an idea I had, which has now been conferred by a few other people. There is currently a tsunami of students who are only concerned in the outcome of their grade. Who's experienced that? If you have kids at school or if you've been through school, I've heard over and over again, sir, what do I need to do to get an A? I don't know. I have no idea. I actually don't. How can we move our students' motivation from an extrinsic incentive to an intrinsic one? I often wonder if it's an educational failure or a cultural one. We're constantly pushing. You need to do well at school. You need to do well at school. Why are you failing? What's the attitude we're sending home? Who's felt that? Who's felt like, I am never going to be good enough? Yeah, it's me, okay? I was constantly feeling that I would never be good enough. I set my students up for initial failure, intentionally. So many of them are terrified of not succeeding, which is an initial barrier that I need to help them overcome. This often leads to students playing it safe and more often, not even attempting at all. If you're scared of failure, you won't even try. How many of you can walk along a thin plank on this floor, even with your eyes closed? Put it a foot off the ground. Put it a metre off the ground. Put it even higher. Everything, your confidence is shot to pieces. The perceived risk of what you've got to lose increases. Yeah? I tell them at the start of the year, I expect you to fail, and then we'll succeed. Because if you can't fail, if you've done it all perfectly, I haven't taught you anything. I haven't taught you a thing. I want you to fail. Okay? There's quite a number of my students in here. They do pretty well. They do pretty well. Google conducted an experiment where, well, it was actually an initiative more than an experiment, whereby they gave their engineers a financial incentive to produce something new and marketable, something that they hadn't said, hey, we want you to develop this idea, okay? We're coming from a corporate position and we're telling you that you're going to make this. And if you did well, you would get a financial incentive from it, right? A reward. This seems like something we've possibly heard before, yeah? They found that productivity dived really sharply. They stopped that and they said, once a quarter, we're going to give you 3 days. All work that we've asked you to do stops, and we're going to give you 3 days to do whatever you want. Your passionate work, your little pet projects, your dreams, whatever it may be. And they saw this immediate uptake. There was safety given. We don't expect anything. If you produce nothing, that's fine. But if you do something cool, hey, let's all celebrate that. Let's be blessed from it. They saw this massive uptake in the output from their engineers. When you give someone freedom, they become limitless. Encourage risk-taking, risk and reward. Our young people want to learn and be more, better versions of themselves. There is a thirst for it amongst them. But to develop truly innovative, creative young people, we need them to once again believe that taking a chance and risking failure is worth it. Thomas Edison. Now, Thomas Edison was a pretty cool dude. He made a lot of things, and he made a lot of failures too. His teacher said he was too stupid to learn anything. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being non-productive, as he would simply want to tinker and not do his assigned role as described. I was always found tinkering instead of working. They had a problem with me tinkering. I didn't know that was the wrong thing to do. I thought that's what you do. As we know, Edison made over 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. Now, the question that all teachers ask are, how do we inspire our students? How do we encourage them to think outside the box? How do we get them to be glass half full individuals? John Rich suggests that schools are haunted by failure. Failure haunts the hallways, the grounds, the classroom. It insituates itself in the lives of the school's inhabitants. I worry about failure. I fail quite often. I try things, it fails. Try something else, it fails. And then occasionally I'll get something right. We usually only talk about the bits that we get right though, don't we? We don't generally celebrate the bits that we didn't get right. Last year, we had our blessed COVID, and then Brisbane had our lockdown. All the kids went. Now, that was fine for the English teachers. It was fine for the math teachers. They had all their books, and online this and online that. And I had my big workshop to my colleague and ourselves. We had a lot of fun, but how do we do our job? We still had to do something practical. So we came up with this pretty cool thing. Our kids were disconnected. We built this. It went in an A4 envelope, and it had a mousetrap in it, and the string, and the pencils, and everything it needed. And it was just almost limitless potential project. Now, we were also teaching them, as a part of the engineering projects, moment arm theory. So the longer the lever, the more power you have. But inversely, it can have the opposite effect when you're trying to pull something. This design took many, many days constantly to produce. It only cost about 80 cents. We innovatively, creatively changed our practice to meet the needs of our students who we couldn't actually make contact with. Students who actually engaged with it were able to be very, not so much very, sorry, they were able to put their practice, what they're learning in the theory, into a tangible outcome. It was really neat. Now, I've already read that one, sorry. Now, my dad is, as I said earlier, was a fine arts lecturer at Avondale College. And so he told me this the other day. Creativity is the belief that everything and anything can be done better. If you don't believe that, well, you're still not willing to fail. That doubt in yourself is still there. My hope in this is to have students realise that to fail does not make them a failure. I want them to know it is okay to fail, but not to concede defeat. Thank you, everyone.
Designed Alliance is a company that inspires individuals and organisations in their growth and development. Our purpose is to help you grow, flourish, and provide you with a framework for lasting success. We add value through professional coaching, leadership development, mindset, and public speaking. We have an online growth hub, training portal, mastermind classes and podcasts, Leader Flow and Transformation Station. We partner with our clients to help them find clarity, wisdom and direction so that they can reach more of their potential and goals. My name is Steve Kane, and along with Alex Sapala and Tani Ryan, we co-founded Designed Alliance. Together, we've combined our backgrounds and successful experiences in non-profit, church, business and commercial enterprises and bring that to the table. Alex and I are looking forward to sharing with you how to move past the two barriers that keep people stuck in their current circumstances so that you can colour your world through your God-given talents and dreams.
Hi everyone, nice to be here with you. I tell you what, let's say I'll just hit up one of them. We'll hit one barrier today. I just want you to stand up for a minute though, because you've been seated for a while. Can you stand up? I want you to look at someone next to you and say, you have an acre of potential. All right. Okay, please be seated. You know, there is nothing sadder in the world than a man or a woman who has an acre of potential, but they've only cultivated a house block size of it. And when we think about ourselves, often we only cultivate a certain amount of ourselves and then we stop. We put a lid on ourselves and say, that's all I can be. That's all I will ever be. When was the last time you had a conversation with somebody and you said, oh, tell me a bit about what you love doing? And they say, I'm just a. In the beginning, God created. Genesis 1:27. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's handiwork. All you creatives here today, you are God's handiwork. Some translations say workmanship. Others say masterpiece. Created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared for you in advance. God creates. We are made in his image. We're part of God's creative handiwork. It's no wonder that we are creative. Now, I'm sure if you talk to my art teacher when I was in high school, he used to call me, my last name's Kane, he used to call me Hurricane. I think it had something to do with the artwork that I was doing at the time. But pretty much, if you ask me just to draw pictures and stuff, I'm pretty bad at it, right? It's not my gift. But maybe you're creative artistically. Maybe you're a creative problem solver, like we just heard. Maybe you're a creative tradesperson. Maybe you're a creative leader. There are endless ways that you and I can be creative because we were born creative. Do you like the sound of that? That you were born creative. Turn to someone beside you and say, I was born creative. To become connected with our creative gifts and abilities and talents and to share them with the world and impact our community for Jesus while remaining inspired, positive and motivated, there are two barriers that we need to overcome. And the first is the barrier of fear, and the second has to do with our attitude. I'm just going to touch on fear. When you're a kid, you don't think too much about the fear and the things that could be out there to hold you back. Just this week, we've got a hill outside of on our street, just outside our house, and my little boy, Jaden, he gets on his scooter and he goes ripping down that thing, and he just absolutely loves it. So he's flying down. He's not thinking 1 minute about the cars that can come up the street. Which side of the road? All he's doing is in his imagination, all these little scooter tricks and all the little one things, and he's flying down, and I'm there doing all the fearful thinking. So I said to him on Wednesday, hey, mate, listen, there's a road that comes on there. You've got to check every time you go past, there's not a car coming up around that corner because you don't want to be like on the road, right? Yeah, okay. So he takes off, and sure enough, on that very shot, he goes up there, car comes around the corner. Where's he? Middle of the road. Whoa! He goes like this, and I see, and he comes back down. He goes, man, Dad, sure glad I listened. First time. But when you're a kid, you believed that you could pretty much do anything. You weren't held back so much by fear. I remember when I was a teenager, I was asked, what do you want to be? At one stage it was a farmer. And other times it was a plumber. It was a physiotherapist, because everyone at that stage thought it'd be great to get into physio. And then I wanted to be a radiologist. One time I was going to be a hydrotherapist. And then God called me to be a pastor. And then God's called me to build leaders who build other leaders for the King and the kingdom. Until when we get older, we gradually become wound up in fear. It starts to creep into our lives, and the barrier is there. We get held back by fear instead of tapping into our untapped and unlimited potential. You have an acre of potential. And guaranteed, like me, often I just want to live in the little house block, the little house yard. As we grow from child into adulthood, we come up with some brilliant ideas to do something new, something different that we've never done before. Then before we can get it off the ground, a voice inside our head shuts us down from even trying. And this voice is yelling at you from some deeply patterned subconscious place in your mind, saying that you can't do it. Maybe it's based off self-esteem or self-worth issues or beliefs that have been planted in us at a young age or at some point, sometime, unbeknown to us. And some of these fears can show up in masks. For example, perfectionism, brashness, or even arrogance. So fear can be masked as arrogance or brashness, where you overly risk and you make dumb decisions, or perfectionism, where you fear looking silly or not being smart enough. Sometimes we share our ideas with others and they come up with all the reasons why you can't, shouldn't, wouldn't, and problems with it. You ever had that? Recently, I've made a massive change in my life following what I believe God's call is. I'm still a pastor on the inside. I'm still the same person, but I'm going fishing in different waters with different nets. And even in the process of that, people who are close to me sometimes say, why would you do that? Hey, aren't you going to change your mind yet? Is it successful yet? Some of you might have an idea of starting a new business, teaching music, arts, a brand, a new band, a photography business, or even looking to write a book or a course. Maybe exhibiting your work publicly, like out in the foyer there. A new ministry, or maybe helping out in an existing one. But the chances are pretty good at the time when you thought of stepping out, that a voice in your head began to reason with you why you can't do it. Starts telling you things like, hey, given your past experiences and failures, this is probably not going to work out. Or the voice in your head may say something like this, where are you going to get the money to do that? You know, the biggest issue for me to make my change took me 18 months to come to this point where I was at the crossroads before I finally stepped over. The biggest fear factor for me, what are you going to do financially? You're a husband and father, you've got all these financial responsibilities. What are you going to do? You can always do something, can't you? Go and mow a lawn if you need to, go and clean a house if you need to. You can do anything. But we let that one big fear get in the way of making the shift, making the move. And we let it consume us. Where are you going to get the money to do that? How are you going to do that? Or who do you think you are thinking that you could do this? No one will come to see your exhibit, so you may as well save yourself the time in your work. I believe that, all of us here are way too familiar with those phrases. They've been told to us our whole lives over and over again. They've become programmed into our beliefs, which we hold true about ourselves and our future potential. For a long time, we've believed them to be true, and these beliefs are what drive our behaviour and ultimately our results. And that's why we don't generally get the results that we want in our life. It's our beliefs that drive our behaviour. I'm just art. I'm not smart enough. Look at my grades at school. Someone said that I was not going to be good. People come up sometimes, there was a friend of mine, his name's John. World-class speaker. He gets paid sometimes $150,000 to speak for an hour. How would you like that? Is that not a bad thing? So anyway, this young guy comes up to John and he says, hey, John, listen, I'd love to speak like you. And he said, well, would you love to do the work that I do to be able to do what I do? When we started our podcast, I said to Alex, hey, let's aim for 100 podcasts to get good. I didn't say awesome, I said to get good. And you know what? The first few times, it was harder than what it seemed, right? But I took all the pressure off by saying, hey, let's aim to get good by 100 podcasts. Strive for progress in your creativity and in what you're doing, not for perfection. Our challenge lies at the core of our beliefs about ourselves and our identity. I'm just a statements. Our identity become a barrier to becoming all that we were purposed to be. There's that feeling of anxiousness and fear which sets in just after you've come up with an idea to improve yourself or your results. And the idea actually requires you to get out of your current level of comfort. Whenever something is an unknown, you'll have an emotional response. What is it? It's a fear response. Something's unknown, you naturally, oh, what if? I don't know what's happening. So in our comfort zone, we sit here when we're all relaxed and in our normal, hey, here. But when you have an idea that takes you out of your comfort zone and stretches you, by the way, that's the law of the rubber band. A rubber band is only useful when it's stretched. You only grow when you're being stretched. So what happens is anything that's unknown, we get an emotional response. And by the way, your emotions kick off a lot faster than the cognitive bit just here. So what happens, your emotions kick off, you go, whoo, well, that's a bit nerve-wracking. How am I going to do that and all this? And then the brain starts going into this how. And then what happens, you go, all right, let's step back from that. And we take a step back and we go, whew, we're back in the comfort zone. You know what, I didn't really want to do that anyway. And then we feel a bit more relaxed. We faced our terror barrier and then we backed away from it. To really simplify this, you could look at fear as your ego's attempt to hold on to the reality that it currently understands, or that you currently understand, and that you're comfortable with, and it doesn't want to change, so it resists change. Anything outside of that, and when you come through to that fear barrier, each time we need or want to change, if we don't navigate it effectively, we end up just going straight back into the comfort zone, same old, same old. That area where we're all just safe and familiar and comfortable. You know that zone, don't you? Where you end up giving up on your dreams and aspirations. Where only the cautious and the colourless remain. Worse still, we don't just give up, we actually justify it to ourselves to feel good about failing to start anything new. It was never going to work. Oh, they're not good people. I'm not as creative compared to her. I wouldn't be able to run my own business. Blah, blah, blah. This narrative goes on in your head. And so you stop reaching out for your dreams. Fear is what drives us to hold on to the past or to hold on to that which has now become your comfort zone. So how do you learn to say no to the fear barrier and to step out of that comfort zone and start living the life that we know that we want to live? You know, Jesus faced this too. Matthew 16:23, Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Jesus knew what he was. He knew his purpose in his life, and nothing and no one was going to get in his way. Jesus had an attitude, a clear perspective about who he was and what he was purposed to do here on earth. This power exists inside all of us. It's the power granted us by God. It's our birthright. Until we're aware of it and know how to use it, we give our fear more power than our faith. Are you tired of that? Imagine what our church would do if we could let go of our fears just for a moment and we just stepped out in faith. Imagine what you would do if you stopped being fearful and started being more faithful. Until we're aware of it and we know how to use our faith, we remain trapped by fear and we retreat into our comfort zone. Sometimes we're caught by our present and we assume that our present equals our future. And so we remain trapped to where we are. The Bible's got a lot to say about that. I just want to pull out one. There's a time and a season for everything. It's not going to last forever. Number 2, Friday's disappointment is Sunday's joy. You can press through, because on the other side of that terror barrier, that fear barrier, when you cross over and step out in faith to do the things that God's put on your heart, the things that you cry for, the things that you'll sing for, the things that you'll laugh for. You know when Craig was up here and he started talking about 25,000, and then he just stopped for a moment and his eyes filled with tears. I thought to myself for that moment, this guy is living his dream. His heart breaks for something, and this is what motivates him to do something. And what was it, over $7 million raised? Imagine if Craig had sat back on the couch and said, who are you to organise 25,000 spins? Did you see his don'ts that were up there? Thanks, Craig. You did a great practical illustration. All the don'ts are right, all the things he didn't have. But when is the car? Who remembers cars without power steering? Put your hand up if you're old enough to remember cars without power steering. Okay, on a hot day when you went in the car park, yeah? You always had your foot up on the dash, like this on the steering wheel just to try to get it around. When is a car easier to steer? Tell me. When? When it's moving. You sit in a car park trying to pull on that wheel with that power steering, and that alone if you're driving a truck, that was another whole story right there. You had to have arms as big as Don't worry about the how. There's a million hows. A million hows to do something. Worry about the desire. Do you have the desire, the heart, the passion for it? And if you do, the how will come. You just got to get moving, because when you move, when there's an obstacle, what can you do? You can go around it. But if you're stuck and there's an obstacle there, you're stuck. But if you're moving, you can steer around that puppy and we'll go around that thing, back on target. If we don't go over it, we're going to go over it, or through the trees in some cases, I found out this morning. So we're caught often in these fears of what if and what if. Congratulations to one of the GG members, Esther. Woohoo, yeah. Throw your job in and went off and did what you were called and what you were supposed to do. Yes, we have a calling for a period, but sometimes God calls us into other places and other things. Don't just put a lid on yourself. I was talking to someone not just last weekend. He said, I'm just a worker. I said, no, you're not. I said, who told you that? He said, I've just always been a worker. I'm just a worker. What he meant by that is that he always helps out and does things, never a leader. I said, yeah, but he said, you've believed that you're a worker, haven't you? Yes. So you actually placed that lid on you. I did. He said, what if you did? What if you believed something else? What would happen? What if you believed that you're actually a leader? Yeah, I could become a leader. Exactly. It's inside your head. If you put a lid on you, have you believed maybe a teacher, maybe a parent, maybe a friend, and all meaning and well-meaning and all that, I accept that. But you've believed something and you've put a lid on you. Or every time you come to that thing that keeps coming back, that idea or that thing that, and you keep on, oh, what if? And then I step away from the fear barrier and you retreat back into comfort and in a life that's not the life that you're supposed to really live. And it's never too late to change. going to wrap up with this. The opposite to fear is faith. And faith exercise gives us courage, and courage is our heart's attempt or desire to open up and become more expansive. Satan fuels fears. God feeds your faith and courage, and his perfect love drives out all fear. So think about this in the context of your life and dealing with your fear. And imagine if you could see in you what I can see, but more importantly, what God can see. A child of God without limitations and nothing holding you back, no fears whatsoever. If you had no fear, what would you do? What will you do? What need are you solving in the world? Who could you be? Who will you be? Who will you serve? If you do not take charge of your future, somebody else will. And believe you me, they won't have anywhere near the interest in it as you do. God's not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. Just think for a moment. If you could just reframe some of the beliefs that you have, these things that have been driving you, think about it just for a moment. If you could reframe that, reshape that, instead of confining yourself to that house block of potential, you say, you know what, that's enough of that. I want to see the whole acre. I want to see the whole acre. Imagine what your life would be like, how you'd be living. How about you take hold of the truth of God, be emboldened by faith in God, and just take the first step. Give fuel to your courage. Move through your fears or discomfort by starving fear and fueling faith. Use all of the talents and gifts that God's given us. Go full steam ahead with achieving our dreams and our visions. Do this and you'll begin to eradicating these limiting beliefs, limitations, and the negativity that's holding you back from being the wonderful, created masterpiece that God says that you are. Move through the fear barrier, because on the other side of it is freedom. Move through your attitude barrier by choosing a positive one. Live fully, live honestly, lead honourably. Get out there and colour your world.
Well, I have just resonated with so much today in so many of the different presentations. Thank you, Springwood. Thank you, Charmaine, for having this event. I could say so much, but we're all hungry. So we're just going to do one song to close with. I want to say Psalms 13:6 would be a great text that this song is based on. I will sing unto the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Can you say that about your life? How good has God been? And just giving you the skill sets he's given you the desires that you have to be able to be creative, to share him with others through your talents. Just beautiful. So we're going to close with this song. If you know it, sing along with us. There'll be lyrics on the screen for you to join.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me, and all my days I've been
been held in your hands from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You were close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Thanks, on. Oh, yes. Let's put our hands together to all the artists who have given their time this weekend for the Creative Conference. Thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoyed this weekend. Hi, my name is Shemaine. Thanks so much for coming to the second Creative Conference. This has always been my dream, to have a place where we can come together to embrace our creativity for God. It brings me joy to bring my vision to life. As creatives of the world, we often get forgotten. So I hope this conference has inspired, encouraged, and helped you see how we can glorify God's name in a creative way. Thank you to the many guests who have shared their creative journeys with us and help unite us, like-minded people, and challenge us to unite the colour back into our own churches and ministries. I just want to say a quick little prayer, and I've just got a few little announcements after, and you're free to go. Dear Jesus, thank you so, so much that we all can come here together, and it just gives me so much joy. there's just a sense of love and peace and joy when you see all these beautiful creatives glorify you in so many different ways. And it's just so awesome that we can live a life for you, and we can take the things that we have listened to this weekend and take it into our local churches and be able to be the best versions of ourselves with creativity. And yeah, thanks so much for such a beautiful weekend, and thanks for every single person that has taken their time to listen to all these amazing speakers and songwriters. We're just so blessed in South Queensland with this amazing talent. And yeah, thank you for giving each and every single person a gift so that we can share and we can glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So there's just one more announcement. If you're going to the workshop with Rochelle Marvel, Art Journaling, and would like to stay for a free lunch, the first 20 people to text your name and how many people to Joanne. So the number's on the screen, and will be served straight after this right now, and the workshop will be at 2:30. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this weekend. I know I did, and yeah, I hope you can take this and take it out to your local churches and do something with it. So thank you.